Good evening. Let yourself settle into this quiet moment. Take a breath, slow and deep, and feel your body releasing the weight of the day. Tonight, we'll explore gentle wisdom about worry and how to live with uncertainty. Before we begin, feel free to share what time it is and where you're listening from in the comments. Let your breathing become soft and natural. There's nowhere to be but here, nothing to do but rest. The stories tonight will guide you toward peace, each one a stepping stone into deeper sleep and understanding. Let the day fade away. Everything you've been carrying can be set down now. In ancient China, there lived a farmer whose life was marked by simplicity. His small farm sat at the edge of a village where the rice fields stretched toward distant mountains. He was neither wealthy nor poor, neither young nor old. He worked his land with steady hands, guided by the rhythms of seasons that came and went like breath. One morning, the farmer woke to find his only horse had broken through the fence during the night. The animal was gone, vanished into the wild countryside beyond the village. His neighbors arrived quickly, their faces heavy with concern. They gathered at his gate, shaking their heads. One said, "Your horse is gone. You cannot plow without it." Another said, "This is terrible luck. How will you survive the planting season?" A third neighbor wrung her hands and said, "Your misfortune troubles us all." The farmer listened to each word. He looked at their worried faces and felt the morning sun warm on his shoulders. Then he spoke, softly. "Maybe so, maybe not." His neighbors looked at each other, confused by his calm. How could he not see the disaster before him? They walked away, muttering about the old farmer's strange indifference to his obvious bad fortune. 3 days passed. The farmer tended his small garden, mended his fence, and slept peacefully each night. On the 4th morning, he heard the sound of hooves. When he went outside, he found not one horse but 7. His old horse had returned, leading 6 wild horses from the mountain. Beautiful, strong animals with glossy coats and bright eyes. The neighbors rushed over. They clapped the farmer on the back and said, "This is wonderful. You are so lucky now." One said, "You can sell these horses and become wealthy." Another said, "The gods have blessed you for your patience." They celebrated his great fortune, bringing him rice, wine, and sweet cakes. The farmer smiled gently. "Maybe so, maybe not," he said again. The neighbors left, shaking their heads at his curious response, but still envious of his sudden wealth. A week later, the farmer's only son began training the wild horses. The young man was strong and confident, skilled with animals. But one of the horses, a spirited mare with a silver mane, bucked violently. The son was thrown hard to the ground. His leg broke with a sound like a branch snapping. The village healer came and set the bone, but the young man would be bedridden for many weeks, unable to help with the farm work. Again the neighbors gathered. "This is terrible," they said. "Your son is injured right before harvest. Who will help you bring in the rice? What terrible luck you have." They brought soup and sad faces, certain that misfortune had returned to the farmer's house. The farmer cared for his son with gentle hands. He said again, "Maybe so, maybe not." 2 weeks passed. Then soldiers arrived in the village, riding horses bearing the emperor's banner. They moved from house to house, taking every young man of fighting age. A war had begun in the north, and the emperor needed soldiers. The soldiers came to every door except one. When they saw the farmer's son lying there with his broken leg, they left him behind. Every other young man in the village was conscripted, marched away toward a war that most would never return from. The neighbors who remained, mostly old people and young children, came to the farmer's house. They wept. "Your son is so fortunate," they said. "You are blessed that his leg was broken. If not for this injury, he would be gone like our sons." Their tears fell like rain as they realized how what seemed like misfortune had saved the young man's life. The farmer held their hands. He offered tea and comfort. And when they asked how he knew, how he remained so calm through everything, he simply said, "Maybe so, maybe not." Because who can know what any moment truly means until time reveals its nature? This story reminds us of something profound about worry and our relationship with uncertainty. We spend so much energy deciding whether events are good or bad, fortunate or unfortunate. When something happens that seems negative, we worry endlessly about the consequences. When something appears positive, we grasp at it, trying to hold it permanent. But the farmer understood what we so often forget. The future is not ours to know. Think about your own life. How often have you worried about something that seemed terrible, only to discover later it led you somewhere you needed to go? Maybe you didn't get the job you wanted, and you worried for weeks, only to find a better opportunity appeared because you were available. Or perhaps a relationship ended and you were certain your life was over, only to discover that the ending created space for growth you couldn't have imagined. Maybe you were stuck in traffic and frustrated, worrying about being late, only to later learn there had been an accident further ahead that you avoided by being delayed. We cannot see the whole picture. We never can. The same is true in reverse. Things that seem wonderful can lead to unexpected challenges. The promotion that felt like a blessing becomes a source of stress. The move to a new city that promised excitement brings loneliness. The farmer knew this too. When the wild horses came and everyone celebrated his good fortune, he didn't grasp at the happiness or assume it would last. He held it lightly, knowing that all things change. What if we could live like this farmer, not swinging wildly between fear and grasping, but resting in the simple truth that we don't know what any moment means? What if we could meet uncertainty with these words, "Maybe so, maybe not"? Not from indifference, but from wisdom. Not from not caring, but from understanding that our worry doesn't change anything except our peace. When worry comes, and it will come, we can remember the farmer. We can remember that what seems like disaster might be protection. What seems like blessing might be challenge. And we cannot possibly know which is which until time unfolds. This doesn't mean we don't plan or act with care. The farmer still mended his fence and tended his son. But he didn't lose his peace trying to control what he couldn't control or know what he couldn't know. Maybe so, maybe not. Let these words settle in your heart. Let them be your answer to worry. Let them be your medicine for the anxious mind that tries to figure out every future possibility. Rest in not knowing. Trust the process of your life. Breathe slowly now. Let your body sink deeper into rest. Whatever you've been worrying about, just for now, let it be uncertain. You don't have to solve it tonight. Maybe so, maybe not. Just this breath, just this moment. There was once a monk named Tanzan who lived in a mountain monastery in Japan. The monastery sat high among pine trees where the air was thin and clean, Tanzan was known for his strict adherence to the monastic rules. Every precept followed with precision. One of these precepts stated clearly that monks should avoid all physical contact with women. One autumn day, Tanzan and his friend Ekido left the monastery to walk to a nearby village. They walked in silence, as was their custom, their robes moving softly with each step. The path wound down the mountain through forests, where the leaves were turning gold and red. The air smelled of earth and smoke from distant cooking fires. When they reached the edge of the village, they came to a place where a stream crossed the road. Recent rains had swollen the water, turning the gentle crossing into a muddy torrent. At the bank stood a young woman dressed in silk. Her clothes were fine, meant for a festival, clearly not meant to be ruined by mud and water. She stood there, uncertain, looking at the rushing stream, unable to cross without destroying her beautiful garments. Tanzan saw her hesitation immediately. Without a word, without pause, he walked straight to her. He scooped her up in his arms as easily as one might lift a child. He carried her across the stream, his feet sure on the slippery stones. He set her down gently on the other side, bowed slightly, and walked on. The woman thanked him, surprised and grateful. Ekido followed in shocked silence. The two monks continued their journey. They walked through the village, completed their business, and began the long climb back up the mountain. Ekido said nothing. His face grew tight with disapproval. His steps became heavy with judgment. They walked for hours, the sun moving across the sky, shadows lengthening. Still, Ekido remained silent, but his silence was loud with unspoken accusation. Finally, as they reached the monastery gates just as evening was falling, Ekido could contain himself no longer. He turned to Tanzan, his voice sharp. "We monks don't go near females," he said, "especially not young and beautiful ones. It is against our precepts. How could you do such a thing? How could you carry her like that?" Tanzan looked at his friend with eyes full of gentleness. "I left the woman back at the stream hours ago," he said quietly. "Why are you still carrying her?" The words hung in the air like temple bells. Ekido stood there, his mouth open, suddenly seeing what he had done. While Tanzan had helped someone and moved on, Ekido had carried the encounter for miles, letting it grow heavier with every step. He had carried his worry, his judgment, his mental story about what the action meant, what rule had been broken, what disaster might come from it. He had carried all of it up the mountain while Tanzan walked freely, his mind clear and peaceful. This story teaches us something essential about the nature of worry. So often, what we carry isn't the actual problem. It's our thoughts about the problem. It's the story we tell ourselves about what happened or what might happen. It's the mental weight of replaying events, judging them, worrying about their meaning, catastrophizing their consequences. Notice how this happens in your own mind. Something occurs during your day. Maybe someone says something that bothers you, or you make a small mistake, or you have a brief, uncomfortable interaction. The actual event lasts perhaps seconds or minutes. But then you carry it. You replay the conversation over and over. You imagine what you should have said. You worry about what the person thinks of you now. You create entire scenarios about possible future consequences. The event is over, but you're still carrying it, adding weight with every replay, every worried thought, every imagined outcome. Or think about how we carry the future. Someone at work mentions budget cuts might be coming. The comment takes 5 seconds to hear, but then you carry it. You spend the evening worrying. Will I lose my job? How will I pay my bills? What will I tell my family? You create a whole catastrophe in your mind based on something that hasn't happened and might never happen. You carry this phantom weight through your dinner, through your evening, into your bed where it keeps you awake. The actual present moment is fine. You're safe right now. But you're carrying worry about a future that exists only in your imagination. Tanzan understood that each moment can be met, responded to, and released. He saw the woman needed help. He helped her. The moment ended. He set her down and walked on. His mind didn't cling to what had happened. He didn't worry about whether he'd done the right thing. He didn't replay the moment. He didn't create stories about future consequences. He simply moved forward, present to each new moment. This is the practice being offered to us, not to stop caring or to become indifferent. Tanzan acted with compassion, but then he released it. The action was complete. Whatever came next would be its own moment, to be met when it arrived. He didn't need to carry the past or imagine the future. He was free. What are you carrying right now that you could set down? What conversation from 3 days ago are you still replaying? What mistake from last week are you still judging yourself for? What worry about next month are you carrying tonight? Can you see that the actual moment is over, but you're still carrying the mental weight of it? You're still carrying her. To use Tanzan's words, you've carried her for miles while the moment itself was set down long ago. Try this. Even now, as you lie here, notice if your mind is carrying something. A conversation, a worry, a judgment, an imagined future problem. Notice the weight of it. Then ask yourself Tanzan's question. Why am I still carrying this? The moment is over. The event hasn't happened yet. Why am I still carrying this weight? Can I set it down, at least for now, at least for tonight? Can I leave it at the stream and walk on? This doesn't mean the situation disappears or that real problems don't need addressing. It means we stop adding the extra weight of mental carrying. Tomorrow, if action is needed, you can take it. But tonight, you can set down the worry. You can stop replaying the past. You can release the imagined future. You can be like Tanzan, walking freely up the mountain, present to what is, carrying only this moment. Let your breathing soften. Feel how your body doesn't have to carry these mental weights. Feel how your shoulders can drop. Your jaw can unclench. You can leave the woman at the stream. You can stop carrying what's already over or hasn't yet begun. Just this breath. Just this moment. Walking freely, carrying nothing. In a small temple in Vietnam, there lived a young monk named Thien who struggled terribly with worry. His mind was like a flock of birds, never still, always flying from one anxious thought to another. He worried about his practice, whether he was progressing, whether he understood the teachings correctly. He worried about his family in the village, whether they had enough to eat, whether they were safe. He worried about the future, about the world, about whether his life had meaning. One morning, Teen sat in meditation, but his mind was particularly restless. Thoughts came like rain, each one demanding attention. Did I lock the door to the storage room last night? Is the abbot disappointed in my progress? What if I never achieve understanding? What if I'm wasting my life here? The thoughts multiplied, each one breeding 3 more. His breathing became shallow, his stomach tight. Meditation felt impossible. After the meditation bell rang, Tien found himself in the temple garden where the old master, Tae Min, was tending vegetables. The master was ancient, his back bent from decades, his face lined like bark on an old tree. But his eyes were clear and bright as he moved among the plants. Tae Min, Tien said, his voice breaking slightly. I cannot quiet my mind. My worries are like a storm. I try to meditate and can think only of problems. I worry about everything. How can I find peace when my mind won't be still? The old master straightened slowly and looked at the young monk with kindness. He said nothing for a moment, just gazed at Tien with gentle attention. Then he pointed to a large ceramic pot near the garden gate. Go and fill that pot with water from the well, he said. Do not stop until I tell you. Tien was confused, but he obeyed. He took a bucket to the well and drew water. He carried it to the pot and poured it in. The pot was large, very large, but surely it would fill after a few buckets. He went back to the well, drew more water, carried it back, poured it in, but the pot didn't seem to get fuller. He continued, bucket after bucket, back and forth from the well. The sun climbed higher. Sweat began to run down Tien's back. Still, the master said nothing, just continued tending his vegetables. Tien kept working. His legs grew tired. His arms ached. Still, he carried water. By midday, he was exhausted. He had made perhaps 30 trips to the well. The pot should have been overflowing by now. But when he looked into it, the water level was the same as after his first bucket. He looked at the master, bewildered. Tae Min set down his gardening tools and walked over. Together, they examined the pot. And there, at the bottom, Tien saw what he had missed before. The pot had a crack running along its base. Every bucket of water he poured in had leaked out almost as quickly. The pot could never be filled. The master smiled. Your mind is like this pot, he said gently. Every day you pour worry into it. Worry about practice. Worry about family. Worry about the future. Bucket after bucket of worry. You work so hard at worrying. You're exhausted from worrying. But look at what happens. Each worry leaks away and is replaced by another. The pot never fills. The worries never resolve. You just keep carrying more water. Tien stared at the cracked pot, seeing suddenly the truth of it. He had been working so hard at worrying, as if enough worry would somehow solve his problems or protect him from harm. As if worrying about his practice would make him enlightened. As if worrying about his family would keep them safe. As if worrying about the future would prepare him for it. But none of the worrying actually changed anything. It just exhausted him. It just created more worry. But Master, Tien asked, if the pot is cracked, what should I do? Should I try to fix it? Should I get a different pot? Tae Min laughed, a sound like wind chimes. Stop trying to fill it, he said. Stop carrying water to it. Just leave it be. Let the crack exist. Put your bucket down. Come and help me with these vegetables instead. And so Tien learned what worry truly was. It was the endless attempt to fill a cracked pot. It was work that could never be completed. It was carrying bucket after bucket of anxiety, trying to feel safe, trying to feel certain, trying to resolve what could not be resolved through mental effort alone. The crack was life itself, the fundamental uncertainty of existence, and no amount of worry would seal it shut. This story speaks to how we often relate to our worried minds. We work so hard at worrying. We think we need to. We believe that if we worry enough, we'll somehow prevent bad things from happening or prepare ourselves for them. We carry bucket after bucket of anxious thoughts, trying to fill the pot of our uncertainty, trying to make ourselves feel safe and in control. But worry doesn't work that way. It doesn't protect us. It doesn't prepare us. It doesn't solve anything. It just exhausts us. We worry about our health, but the worry doesn't make us healthier. We worry about our relationships, but the worry doesn't improve them. We worry about money, about work, about what others think of us, about whether we're doing life right. We carry so many buckets, and the pot never fills. The uncertainty never resolves. We just grow more tired. What if we could see this clearly, the way Thean finally saw the cracked pot? What if we could recognize that we've been carrying buckets to a pot that cannot be filled? Would we keep doing it? Or would we, as the Master suggested, simply put the bucket down? Stop trying to fill the pot. Stop trying to eliminate uncertainty through worry. Let the crack exist. Let life be uncertain. Put down the bucket and tend to what's actually in front of us. The simple work of this moment, the vegetables that need tending. This doesn't mean we become careless or that we don't plan or take wise action. It means we stop the exhausting work of worry that changes nothing. When our mind starts carrying buckets, when we notice ourselves worrying, we can remember the cracked pot. We can see that we're engaged in useless labor. We can put the bucket down. Right now, notice if you're carrying a bucket of worry. What have you been pouring into the pot? Health worries, financial worries, relationship worries, worries about whether you're good enough, doing enough, being enough. See how the pot never fills. See how each worry just creates space for the next worry. See how exhausting it is. Now, just for tonight, put the bucket down. Let the pot be cracked. Let life be uncertain. You don't have to fill it. You don't have to make everything safe and known and controlled. You can just rest. You can tend to this moment. The breath moving in and out. The body lying down. The simple relief of not carrying anything for a while. The crack will still be there tomorrow. Life will still be uncertain. But tonight, you can rest from the work of worry. Tonight, you can leave the bucket by the well and simply be still. Close your eyes if they aren't already closed. Feel your breath, soft and easy. No buckets to carry. No pot to fill. Just this. Just breathing. Just resting. Just this moment, exactly as it is. Long ago, in ancient India, a young woman named Kisa Gotami lived in a small village. She married young and soon gave birth to a son who became the light of her life. The child was healthy and beautiful, and Kisa Gotami loved him with a fierce tenderness that mothers know. She watched him grow from infant to toddler, delighting in his first words, his first steps, his laughter like music in their small home. But when the child was barely 2 years old, he fell ill. The fever came suddenly and would not break. Kisa Gotami tried every remedy the village healers suggested. She gave him herbs and bathed him in cool water. She prayed to every deity she knew. But the child grew weaker. Within days, he died in her arms, his small body going still and cold. Kisa Gotami could not accept it. The grief was too vast, too crushing. She refused to believe her son was truly gone. She wrapped his body in cloth and carried him through the village, going from house to house, begging people for medicine to cure her child. The villagers looked at her with pity and sorrow. They could see the child was dead, but Kisa Gotami, lost in her anguish, could not or would not see the truth. Finally, an old man took pity on her. He said, "I cannot give you medicine, but I know someone who might be able to help. Go to the monastery on the edge of town where the Buddha is teaching. If anyone can help your child, he can." Kisa Gotami went immediately. She found the Buddha sitting under a tree, surrounded by his monks and lay people who had come to hear him teach. She pushed through the crowd and fell at his feet, her dead child still in her arms. "Please," she begged, "my son needs medicine. They say you have great power. Please heal him. Give me the medicine to bring him back." The Buddha looked at her with infinite compassion. His eyes held such kindness that for a moment her desperate frenzy quieted. He said, "I can help you. But first you must bring me something. Go into the village and bring me a handful of mustard seeds. But they must come from a household where no one has ever died." Kisa Gotami felt hope rise in her chest. This seemed simple enough. Mustard seeds were common. Every household kept them for cooking. She would find the seeds and return quickly, and then the Buddha would save her son. She hurried back into the village, knocking on the first door she came to. "Do you have mustard seeds?" she asked when the door opened. The woman inside said yes. "Of course. We have plenty." Kisa Gotami's heart leaped. But then she asked the second part, "Has anyone in this household ever died?" The woman's face grew sad. "Oh yes," she said. "My father died 2 years ago, and my husband's brother died last spring. I'm sorry, but we have known death." Kisa Gotami thanked her and moved to the next house. The same pattern repeated. "Yes, we have mustard seeds. But no, we cannot help you. My mother died in childbirth. My grandfather died of old age. My sister died as a baby." House after house, the answer was the same. Everyone had mustard seeds. Everyone had known death. As the day wore on, as Kisa Gotami heard story after story of loss, something began to shift in her. She heard about children who had died, parents who had died, husbands and wives and siblings and friends. She saw that grief lived in every home. That loss was woven into the fabric of every life. That death came to every household, touching everyone, sparing no one. By evening, she had visited every home in the village. Not one could give her what she needed. Not because they lacked mustard seeds, but because all of them had known death. Every single one. She stood at the edge of the village as the sun set, her child still in her arms, and finally, she understood. Her son was not coming back, and she was not alone in her grief. Everyone suffered this. Everyone lost people they loved. Death was not a punishment or a mistake or something that happened only to her. It was part of life itself. It came to all. She returned to the Buddha. She did not ask for medicine anymore. Instead, she asked for guidance. "Help me understand this suffering," she said. "Help me find peace." The Buddha taught her about impermanence, about how all things that arise must pass away, how clinging to what cannot stay creates endless pain. He taught her about the path to peace through accepting what is, through releasing the grip of desperate wanting. Kisa Gotami became one of the Buddha's devoted followers. She eventually achieved deep peace and understanding. But first, she had to walk through the village. She had to hear every story. She had to see that her suffering was not unique, not a sign she was cursed or abandoned, but simply the nature of human life. We all face loss. We all know grief. We all live with uncertainty. This ancient story holds wisdom for our own worried minds. So much of our worry comes from a secret belief that we should be exempt from difficulty. We see challenges in our lives and we think, "Why is this happening to me? This shouldn't be happening. Other people don't have to deal with this. If I just worry enough, plan enough, control enough, I can protect myself from uncertainty and loss." But Kisa Gotami's walk through the village teaches us the truth. No household is exempt. Everyone faces difficulty. Everyone knows loss. Everyone lives with uncertainty. Your struggles are not evidence that you've done something wrong or that life is punishing you. They're evidence that you're human, living a human life in a world where all things change. When we understand this deeply, it changes our relationship with worry. We stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" as if we should be special and protected. Instead, we see that difficulty is part of the shared human experience. We're not alone in our uncertainty. We're not the only ones who face challenges. Every person you pass on the street has known loss, has faced fear, has wrestled with worries. Every household holds both joy and sorrow. This is what it means to be alive. And strangely, recognizing this can bring comfort. You are not isolated in your worry. You are not uniquely cursed. You are simply human, experiencing what humans experience. The mustard seeds are everywhere, and so is death. And so is uncertainty. And so is loss. And yet somehow, people continue. They love again. They find meaning again. They make lives that hold both joy and sorrow, both certainty and uncertainty. What if instead of fighting against the reality of impermanence and change, we did what Kisa Gotami finally learned to do? What if we accepted it? Not with despair, but with understanding. Yes, things change. Yes, we will face loss. Yes, life is uncertain. And yes, this is true for everyone. Everyone. We're all in this together, walking through a world where nothing stays the same, where the only certainty is change itself. This doesn't mean we don't feel grief or fear. Kisa Gotami felt crushing grief, but she found peace when she stopped fighting reality and instead learned to hold it with wisdom. She stopped asking the world to be different than it was. She stopped demanding exemption from the human condition. She relaxed into the truth. Impermanence is universal. And within that truth, she found freedom. Your worries tonight, whatever they are part of this universal experience. You are not alone in them. Right now, in this very moment, thousands of people are lying awake, worried about health, about money, about relationships, about whether they're doing life right. You are not unique in your uncertainty. You are deeply, profoundly connected to every other person through this shared experience of being human in an uncertain world. Let that connection hold you. You are part of something larger than your individual worry. You are part of the great family of humans who all must face impermanence, who all must walk through the village looking for certainty and finding instead the truth that everyone struggles. Everyone faces change. Everyone knows loss. And everyone somehow continues. Breathe into this. You don't have to carry your worry alone. You don't have to feel isolated by it. Every person knows this. You are held in this universal truth. Rest in it. Let go of the demand that life be certain. Accept what Kisa Gotami learned. This is what it means to be alive. And somehow, that's okay. Somehow, we can find peace within it. In the mountains of China, there was a monastery where a young student named Wei practiced meditation. Wei had come to the monastery full of enthusiasm, eager to achieve enlightenment. But after a year of practice, he grew frustrated. His mind would not quiet. During meditation, thoughts came endlessly. Worries about his family, memories of his old life, doubts about whether he was doing the practice correctly, plans for the future. The more he tried to stop thinking, the more thoughts seemed to arise. One day, feeling defeated, Wei approached the master. "Master," he said, "I cannot meditate properly. My mind is full of thoughts like a river full of fish. I try to stop them, but they just keep coming. How can I achieve a quiet mind?" The master, an old woman named Li, who was renowned for her wisdom, listened carefully. Then she said, "Come with me." She led Wei to a small building at the edge of the monastery grounds. Inside was a large millstone used for grinding grain. The stone was heavy, massive, and it sat still and solid. "Do you see this stone?" Master Li asked. "Yes," Wei answered. "It is very still, very peaceful." Master Li nodded. "Now," she said, "I want you to push it." Wei put his shoulder to the stone and pushed with all his strength. The stone moved slowly, beginning to turn on its axis. "That's good," the master said. "Keep pushing." Wei pushed. The stone turned, around and around, grinding the grain beneath it with a steady rumbling sound. "Push harder," the master said. "Make it go faster." Wei pushed with all his might. The stone turned faster, creating a louder rumble, a stronger rhythm. "Now," the master said, "I want you to make the stone stop thinking." Wei looked at her, confused. "Master," he said, "the stone doesn't think. It's just a stone. It only turns because I'm pushing it." "Exactly," said Master Li. "And your mind is the same. You are pushing your thoughts. You are the one creating the worry, the planning, the remembering. You push, and then you complain that the stone won't stop turning. You ask how to make your mind quiet while you keep pushing it to spin with worry and plans and judgments. If you want the stone to stop pushing it." Wei felt something shift in his understanding. "You mean," he said slowly, that I'm creating my own worried thoughts. I'm the one keeping my mind busy. The thoughts aren't happening to me. I'm doing them to myself. Yes, said the master. When you worry, you are pushing the stone. You push it by asking what if, by imagining disasters, by replaying conversations, by planning for problems that haven't happened. You put your shoulder to it and push with all your strength, and then you wonder why the stone won't be still. The stone is innocent. It only turns because you turn it. But Master, Wei asked, how do I stop pushing? The worries feel like they come on their own. Master Li smiled. They feel that way at first. But watch carefully. Catch yourself in the moment of pushing. You'll see that each worry is a choice, a movement toward the stone, a decision to push. When you see yourself reaching for the stone, about to push, simply don't. Let your shoulder drop. Step back. The stone will naturally slow and stop on its own. Over the following weeks, Wei practiced this new understanding. He sat in meditation, and when a worry arose, he watched for the push. And he found it. There, right there, was the moment where his mind reached out to push the thought, to elaborate on it, to follow it down into anxiety. He saw himself about to ask, what if this happens? What if that happens? He saw himself beginning to replay an old conversation, preparing to push the stone of that memory around and around. And in seeing it, he found he could choose not to push. He could let his shoulder drop. He could step back. And the thought, having nothing to push it, would slow and fade on its own. This story illuminates something crucial about worry and our relationship with our thoughts. We often feel like victims of our worried minds, as if anxious thoughts attack us unbidden and we have no choice but to suffer them. But the truth is more empowering and more confronting. We are the ones pushing the stone. We are the ones creating the worried thoughts, elaborating on them, following them, energizing them. Notice how this works. A simple thought appears, I have a meeting tomorrow. That's just a neutral fact. But then you push. What if I make a mistake? What if they don't like my presentation? What if I freeze up? What if this ruins my reputation? Each what if is a push on the stone. Each imagined scenario is you putting your shoulder to it. The thought would have passed in seconds, but you pushed it into a full anxiety spiral. Or you remember something embarrassing you said last week. The memory appears. That's natural. But then you push. Why did I say that? What must they think of me? I should have said this instead. I always do this. I'm terrible at social situations. Push, push, push. The stone turns faster and faster. The memory becomes a story, becomes a judgment, becomes an identity, becomes a worry. All because you kept pushing. The practice Wei learned was to catch himself in the moment of pushing. This requires attention. It requires watching your mind closely enough to see when you're about to reach for a thought and elaborate on it. Most of the time we're not aware we're doing this. We think thoughts just happen. But if you watch carefully, you'll see there's a moment of choice. A simple thought arises. Then there's a moment, often very quick, where you either push it or let it be. If you push, it spins into worry. If you don't push, it fades. Try this right now. A thought will arise soon. Maybe it already has. Maybe you're thinking about something you need to do tomorrow, or remembering something from today. Notice if you're about to push it. Are you about to ask what if? Are you about to replay it? Are you about to judge it? Can you see your shoulder reaching for the stone? And in seeing that, can you simply not push? Can you let the thought be there without energizing it, without elaborating on it, without following it into a story? Just let it float there and watch it slow and fade on its own. This doesn't mean you never think or plan or remember. It means you stop the compulsive pushing that creates worry. It means you stop the endless what-ifs and if-onlys that turn simple thoughts into anxiety. It means you learn to recognize when you're pushing the stone and you choose to step back. The millstone is innocent. As Master Li said, it only turns when pushed. Your mind is the same. Thoughts are innocent. They only spin into worry when you push them there. When you see this clearly, you find tremendous freedom. You're not a victim of your worried mind. You're the one pushing the stone, and you can choose to stop. So tonight, if worried thoughts appear, and they will, watch for the push. Catch yourself reaching for the stone. See yourself about to elaborate, about to ask what if, about to imagine the worst, and simply don't push. Let your shoulder drop. Step back. Watch the stone slow on its own. Watch the thought fade without your effort. You don't have to fight it or suppress it. You just stop feeding it energy. You stop pushing it. The mind will naturally settle when you stop pushing it. Like a stone that gradually slows and stops when no one is turning it. Your job is not to force your mind to be still. Your job is simply to stop pushing it to be busy. Stop pushing the worry. Stop pushing the what-ifs. Stop pushing the replays and the judgments and the imagined futures. Rest now. No pushing, just breathing, just being. Let the stone be still. In ancient Japan, there lived a tea master named Sen no Rikyu, whose skill and artistry were famous throughout the land. The great warlord Toyotomi Hideyoshi, who ruled Japan, heard of Rikyu's abilities and summoned him to serve as his tea master. This was a great honor but also dangerous. Hideyoshi was powerful and unpredictable, known for his swift anger and harsh punishments. Rikyu served Hideyoshi for many years, preparing tea ceremonies of exquisite beauty. He understood that the tea ceremony was not about the tea itself, but about creating a moment of perfect peace, a small sanctuary from the chaos and violence of the world. In a time of war and intrigue, the tea room offered a place where harmony could exist, where the brutal realities outside the door could be set aside for the duration of the ceremony. But as time passed, tensions grew between Rikyu and Hideyoshi. Rikyu believed the tea ceremony should be simple and natural, finding beauty in imperfection, in the rough texture of a ceramic bowl, in the quiet sound of water beginning to boil. Hideyoshi preferred grandeur and display. He wanted gold tea utensils, elaborate decorations, ceremonies that showed his power and wealth. The two men's philosophies clashed repeatedly. Finally, Hideyoshi's anger at Rikyu's independence grew too great. Whether from jealousy or political calculation, or simply wounded pride, Hideyoshi ordered Rikyu to commit ritual suicide. The tea master received the order calmly. He had been expecting something like this. He had lived for years in the household of a dangerous man, knowing his life hung by a thread. But he had not spent those years in worry. He had spent them making tea. On the day appointed for his death, Rikyu invited his closest students to join him for one final tea ceremony. He prepared everything with his usual meticulous care. He selected a simple bamboo vase and filled it with a single white flower. He arranged the charcoal in the brazier with perfect spacing. He chose his most beloved tea bowl, an old Korean piece with a rough glaze that felt warm in the hands. His students arrived, their faces heavy with grief. They moved through the ritual with him, each gesture infused with terrible beauty. Rikyu whisked the tea with the same graceful economy of motion he had practiced 10,000 times. He served each student, bowing as he offered them the bowl. They drank, tears falling silently into their tea. When the ceremony was complete, Rikyu gave away his tea utensils to his students, one precious piece to each, except for the tea bowl. That one, he said, would go with him. Then he spoke to them, his voice steady and clear. My entire life, I have practiced making tea. I have practiced it in times of peace and times of war. I have practiced it when honored and when condemned. Through everything, the practice remained the same. Heat the water, choose the bowl, whisk the tea. Serve with a whole heart. This has not changed because I am to die today. Death was always coming. It comes to all of us. The only question is how we live in the meantime. After his students left, Rikyu prepared for death with the same care he had brought to tea. He changed into a white robe. He wrote a final poem about the nature of his sword. Then he performed the ritual of ending his life with the same precision and presence he had brought to every tea ceremony. In his final moments, he held the tea bowl. It was said that he left this world as he had lived, completely present, accepting what came without clinging to what was passing away. Rikyu's story is one of extraordinary courage, but it's also about something more fundamental. It's about how to live when life is uncertain, when danger is real, when we cannot control our circumstances. Rikyu could not control Hideyoshi's anger. He could not protect himself from the warlord's power. He lived every day knowing his life was precarious. He had every reason to be consumed by worry and fear. But instead, he chose to focus on what was in his control, the quality of his presence, the care he brought to his practice, the beauty he created in each moment. He could not control whether he would live or die, but he could control how he lived. He could choose to make tea with complete devotion. He could choose to be present and skillful. He could choose to create moments of peace and harmony even in the midst of chaos. Think about your own life. How much energy do you spend worrying about things you cannot control? Whether someone will like you, whether you'll get the job, whether your health will hold, whether the economy will crash, whether your loved ones will be safe, whether the future will be kind. These are all things that lie outside your control. Yet you exhaust yourself trying to manage them through worry, as if anxiety could somehow protect you or prepare you or change the outcome. Rikyu teaches us a different way. Focus on what you can control, this moment, this action, this breath. You cannot control whether you will be safe tomorrow, but you can choose how you meet this moment. You cannot eliminate uncertainty from life, but you can choose to be present despite it. You cannot know the future, but you can engage fully with what is right in front of you now. When we shift our attention from what we cannot control to what we can, worry begins to lose its grip. We stop exhausting ourselves trying to manage the unmanageable. We stop trying to think our way into a future that hasn't arrived. We come back to the simple question: what is mine to do right now? Not tomorrow. Not in some imagined future scenario. Right now. In this moment. What can I actually tend to? Maybe it's finishing the task in front of you with care. Maybe it's having a conversation with full attention. Maybe it's making dinner, washing dishes, walking the dog. Maybe it's simply breathing and resting. These small moments are where life actually happens. These are what you can control. The future will take care of itself. It always has. Your job is not to worry your way into it. Your job is to be present for what's actually here. Rikyu made tea knowing he might die. He made it with complete devotion anyway. He didn't make it carelessly thinking, what's the point? He didn't make it while worrying about his fate. He made it fully, presently, as an expression of his whole being. The tea ceremony was what he could control, so he poured himself into it, not as a distraction from reality, but as his way of meeting reality with grace. What is your tea ceremony? What is the thing you can do, the practice you can engage in, the moment you can be present for, regardless of the uncertainty swirling around you? What can you tend to with your whole heart? Not because it will guarantee a good outcome, but simply because it's what's here. It's what you can do. It's where you can bring your full attention and care. Right now, lying here, your tea ceremony is rest. It's breathing. It's allowing your body to be held by the bed. It's letting go of the worry about tomorrow because tomorrow is not here yet, and worrying about it won't change it. You cannot control what tomorrow brings, but you can choose to rest tonight. You can choose to be present to this breath, this moment of settling, this opportunity to stop struggling and simply be. Rikyu did not waste his last day in worry. He spent it making beautiful tea. You don't have to waste tonight in worry either. Spend it resting. Spend it breathing. Spend it being present. Let the future be uncertain. Let the things you cannot control remain uncontrolled. Bring your attention to what is actually here. This breath, this body, this moment of peace. The water is hot. The tea is ready. This moment is your ceremony. Meet it fully. There was once a Tibetan hermit named Drugpa Kunli who lived high in the mountains. He was known throughout the region not for his piety or his strict practice, but for his wild freedom and unconventional wisdom. He wandered from village to village, sometimes staying in monasteries, sometimes sleeping under bridges, always going wherever the moment led him. One day, Drugpa Kunli arrived at a village where the people were in the midst of a crisis. The local monastery had burned down, destroying precious texts and sacred objects. The villagers were gathering to discuss what to do. Some wanted to rebuild immediately, demanding that everyone donate money and labor. Others argued they should wait until they had more resources. The debate grew heated, voices rising in anger and worry. Drugpa Kunli sat at the edge of the gathering, listening. Finally, one of the village elders noticed him and called out, "What do you think, teacher? Should we rebuild now or wait? This is a serious matter. Our monastery is gone. We must decide. What would you advise?" Drugpa Kunli looked at the charred remains of the monastery. He looked at the worried faces of the villagers. Then he shrugged and said, "Monastery burned down. Very good. Very good." The villagers were shocked. How can you say that? They demanded. Our sacred place is destroyed. We have lost precious things. How is this good? Drugpa Kunli smiled. For many years you worried about fire. You worried that one day the monastery might burn. You kept asking, what if there's a fire? What will we do? How will we survive? You spent so much time worrying. Now the fire has come. The monastery has burned. And look at you. You survived. You're still here. You're still alive. The worry was heavier than the fire itself. Now you can stop worrying about it. It already happened. Very good. The villagers stood silent, not knowing what to say. Then one old woman began to laugh. She laughed until tears ran down her face. You're right, she said. I worried about that monastery burning for 20 years. 20 years of worry. And now it's burned. And I'm fine. I'm still fine. All that worry for nothing. Others began to laugh too, seeing the absurd truth of it. They had carried heavy worry about a possibility. And when the possibility became reality, it was difficult. Yes. And sad. Yes. But they were handling it. They were dealing with it. The actual event was something they could respond to, work with, move through. The worry had been worse than the reality. One young man asked, "But teacher, what about the future? Shouldn't we worry about what comes next? What if we can't raise enough money to rebuild? What if another disaster comes?" Drugpa Kunli pointed to the sky. "You see those clouds?" he said. "Are you worried about them falling on your head?" "No," the young man said, "because clouds don't fall." "Well," Drugpa Kunli replied, "most of your worries are like being afraid of clouds falling. They're about things that will never happen, or things so uncertain that worrying about them is like worrying about clouds. Why carry that weight?" "But some bad things do happen," the young man protested. "The monastery did burn." "Yes," said Drugpa Kunli. "And when it burned, you dealt with it. You put out the fire. You saved what you could save. You mourned what was lost. You're having this meeting to decide what to do next. You're handling it. You don't need to have worried about it for 20 years beforehand. The worry didn't help. It didn't prevent the fire. It didn't make you better prepared. It just made you tired. So when the fire came, you handled it tired." He stood up, preparing to leave. "If you want to rebuild, rebuild. If you want to wait, wait. Either way, things will unfold. But stop worrying about clouds falling. When something real happens, you'll deal with it. You always have. You're more capable than your worry suggests." And with that, Drugpa Kunli walked on, leaving the villagers to their decision, which they made with much less anxiety than before. This teaching about worry and reality cuts to something essential. Research shows that 90% of our worries never come to pass. We spend enormous energy worrying about things that will never happen. We create elaborate scenarios in our minds of disaster and catastrophe. We imagine conversations that will never occur, problems that will never arise, losses that will never materialize. We worry about clouds falling. And on those rare occasions when something we worried about actually does happen, we discover that we can handle it. The event itself is something concrete, something we can respond to. We can take action. We can make decisions. We can ask for help. We can adapt. The reality of a situation, even a difficult one, is actually more manageable than the endless worry about it beforehand. Think about your own experience with this. How many things have you worried about that never happened? That relationship you were sure would end but didn't. That mistake at work you thought would get you fired but was barely noticed. That health symptom you were certain was serious but turned out to be nothing. The financial disaster that seemed imminent but never arrived. How much energy did you pour into those worries? And what did the worry accomplish? Now think about the difficult things that actually did happen. Maybe you lost a job, or a relationship ended, or someone you loved got sick, or you had a financial setback. In the midst of those real situations, you probably found you could cope better than you expected. You found resources you didn't know you had. You discovered you were more resilient than you thought. You got through it. Maybe not perfectly, maybe not without pain, but you got through it. The reality was difficult, but you handled it. This is what Drugpa Kunli was pointing to. Worry is heavier than reality. Worry is endless and exhausting because it plays out infinite scenarios, none of which are actually happening. Reality is concrete. When something actually happens, you can see it clearly and respond to it directly. But worry lives in a fog of maybe and what if, and I don't know. It has no substance you can grapple with, yet it feels heavier than stone. So what if we could adopt Drugpa Kunli's perspective? What if, when we catch ourselves worrying, we could ask, am I worrying about clouds falling? Am I spending energy on something that will likely never happen? And if something difficult is actually happening right now, something real, am I handling it? Am I finding a way through it, even if it's hard? If the monastery is burning, am I putting out the fire? Or am I standing at a distance worrying about whether I'll know how to put out the fire while the actual fire burns unattended? Most of us are much more capable than our worry allows us to believe. We've been through difficult things before. We've survived losses and disappointments and challenges. We've adapted to changes we thought would break us. We've found ways forward when we couldn't see the path. We're actually quite resilient, quite resourceful. But worry tells us the opposite. Worry tells us we can't handle things, that we need to figure everything out beforehand, that we need certainty and control or we'll fall apart. Drugpa Kunli invites us to trust ourselves more and worry less. Trust that when something actually happens, you'll respond. You'll figure it out. You'll take the next step. You don't need to have the whole future mapped out. You don't need to solve problems that don't exist yet. You just need to be present for what's actually here. And if what's actually here is nothing to worry about, then enjoy the peace. If what's actually here is challenging, then meet it. But don't carry imaginary burdens from imaginary futures. Tonight, as you rest, you can practice this. Notice if you're worrying about clouds falling. Notice if you're carrying scenarios that aren't real, problems that haven't arrived, futures that haven't happened. And gently ask yourself, is this real right now? Is this actually happening at this moment? And if it's not, if it's just a worry, a what if, a maybe, then let it go. Set it down. Come back to what's real. The breath moving, the body resting, the simple truth that right now, in this moment, you are okay. The clouds aren't falling, and even if they did, you'd handle it. You always have. Rest in that trust. Rest in your own capability. Let the worries fade like morning mist in sunlight. They have no substance. They're not real. Only this breath is real. Only this moment. And this moment is enough. Breathe. Be still. The monastery burned and life continued. The clouds stay in the sky where they belong. You are here. You are breathing. You are okay. Just this. Just now. Just rest. In the forests of ancient China, there lived a woodcutter named Zhang who worked hard to feed his family. Every day he would take his axe and go into the forest to cut wood. He would bundle the wood on his back and carry it down the mountain to sell in the village. The work was hard and the pay was small, but Zhang did it faithfully, day after day. One morning, Zhang went into the forest as usual. The air was cool and smelled of pine and earth. He found a good spot where several dead trees stood ready for cutting. As he raised his axe for the first swing, he heard a voice behind him say, "Stop." Zhang turned and saw a monk standing there, his robes simple and worn, his face calm as still water. "Why should I stop?" Zhang asked. "I have work to do. My family needs to eat." The monk smiled gently. "Every day you come to the forest with worry," he said. "I have watched you. Every swing of your axe carries the weight of anxiety. You worry whether you'll cut enough wood. You worry whether you'll get a fair price at market. You worry whether the money will be enough. You worry about your children's future. You worry about growing old and being unable to work. Every stroke of your axe is heavy with all this worry." Zhang felt his face grow hot with shame and defensiveness. "Of course I worry," he said. "Life is uncertain. I don't know if I'll always be able to provide. How can I not worry?" The monk reached out and gently took the axe from Zhang's hands. "Let me show you something," he said. He lifted the axe. "Now," the monk said, "I'm going to cut this tree with worry." And he swung the axe while deliberately tensing his whole body, his face tight with imagined anxiety, his shoulders hunched, his breath held. The axe bit into the wood, but the swing was awkward and weak. The monk had to struggle to pull the axe free. "Now," the monk said, "I will cut the tree without worry." He took a breath. His body relaxed, his face peaceful. Then he swung again, and the axe moved like water flowing, smooth and natural and powerful. It sank deep into the wood with a satisfying thunk. "Much better." "Yes," the monk said. Zhang nodded slowly. "I see. But how do I cut without worry when the worry is real? My family does need to eat. The future is uncertain." The monk handed back the axe. "The worry doesn't help you cut better wood," he said. "It doesn't make you stronger or more skillful. It doesn't make you more money. It only makes you tired. You use your energy worrying instead of using it to swing the axe. So you work hard but accomplish less. You worry about providing, while worrying prevents you from providing as well as you could." Zhang looked at his axe, feeling the weight of it differently. "But what should I do instead?" he asked. "Cut the tree," the monk said simply. "Just cut the tree. Put all your attention on the cutting. Feel the axe in your hands. See the spot where you want to strike. Breathe and swing with your whole body, not fighting yourself, not divided by worry. Cut the tree with complete presence. Then cut the next tree. And the next. At the end of the day, you'll have more wood and less exhaustion. The worry adds nothing useful. The presence adds everything. Zhang tried it. He took a breath. He looked at the tree, really looked at it, seeing where to strike. He felt the weight of the axe settling into his hands. Then he swung, putting his whole self into it without the divided attention of worry. The axe bit true and deep. He felt the difference immediately. The swing had been easier, more powerful, less tiring. He cut for several hours, returning again and again to the monk's instruction. When worry arose, he noticed it and came back to the tree, to the axe, to the simple act of cutting. By midday, he had more wood than usual and he felt less tired. His shoulders didn't ache the way they normally did. His mind felt clearer. When Zhang returned the next day, the monk was gone. But the teaching remained. Zhang practiced it every day. Cut the tree. Just cut the tree. When worry came, come back to the tree. Feel the axe. See the target. Breathe and swing. Over time, he found that he not only cut more wood but enjoyed the work more. The forest became a place of peace instead of anxiety. The work became a meditation instead of a burden. And strangely, though he worried less about providing, he provided better. He worked more efficiently, saved more money, felt more content. The worry had been dead weight, using energy without producing anything except exhaustion. Letting it go freed that energy for the actual work. This story teaches us something vital about how worry affects our lives. Worry consumes energy but produces nothing. It makes everything harder. When we worry while working, we divide our attention and reduce our effectiveness. When we worry while talking to someone, we're not fully present and the conversation suffers. When we worry while trying to rest, we can't rest. When we worry while trying to solve a problem, we can't think clearly. Worry is like carrying a heavy backpack full of rocks while trying to run. It doesn't help. It only slows us down and exhausts us. But we carry it anyway, believing somehow that worry is necessary, that it shows we care, that it prepares us for the future. We confuse worry with responsibility. We think a good parent worries about their children. A good employee worries about their job. A thoughtful person worries about the world. But worry doesn't make you better at any of these things. It makes you worse. Real responsibility means doing what needs to be done with full attention and care. It means taking action, making plans, addressing problems, all of which is easier and more effective without worry. Worry is not responsible. Worry is just exhausting. Notice how this operates in your own life. When you're worried about something at work, does the worry make you perform better? Or does it distract you, make you second-guess yourself, keep you up at night so you're tired the next day? When you're worried about a relationship, does the worry improve the relationship? Or does it make you anxious and reactive, less able to be present and loving? When you're worried about money, does the worry create more money? Or does it just make you miserable? What if you approached your life the way Zhang learned to approach his woodcutting? What if you just did the thing in front of you with full presence? Not worrying about it, not dividing your attention, just doing it. Fully, completely, with all your energy going into the action instead of into anxiety. If you need to have a difficult conversation, have it with full presence instead of worrying beforehand about how it might go. If you need to complete a project, work on it with focus instead of worrying whether it will be good enough. If you need to care for your children, be with them fully instead of worrying about whether you're doing it right. If you need to rest, rest completely instead of worrying about tomorrow. This is not magical thinking. This is practical wisdom. You have a certain amount of energy. You can spend it on worry or you can spend it on actual living. The choice is yours. Worry depletes your energy and accomplishes nothing. Presence uses your energy skillfully and effectively. Right now, you can practice this. Your job right now is to rest. That's the tree you're cutting. That's the work at hand. So rest fully. Don't divide your energy by worrying about tomorrow or replaying today. Don't make this moment harder by carrying mental weight. Just rest. Feel your body. Notice your breath. Let yourself be completely here. Put all your energy into resting instead of into worrying about not being able to rest or worrying about what tomorrow brings. Cut the tree. Just cut the tree. Rest. Just rest. Be here. Just be here. This is enough. This is all you need to do right now. The worry adds nothing. The presence adds everything. Breathe deep. Let your muscles soften. The axe is at rest. The tree stands peacefully. There is nothing to do but be still. Nothing to worry about that can't wait for tomorrow. Cut the worry. Keep the presence. Just this breath. Just this moment. Just this simple act of resting. Completely, fully, without divided attention. Just rest. Many centuries ago in Tibet, there lived a merchant named Dorje who traded in tea and wool between the mountain villages. He was successful in his business, but tormented by constant anxiety. Every season brought new worries. In spring, he worried whether the mountain passes would be clear enough for travel. In summer, he worried whether raiders would attack his caravans. In autumn, he worried whether he had enough goods stored for winter. In winter, he worried whether his family would stay healthy in the cold. One year, Dorje decided to seek help from a famous teacher who lived in a remote monastery. The journey would take weeks, but Dorje's anxiety had become unbearable. He set out with a small group of attendants, traveling through high passes and narrow valleys. The journey itself became a source of worry. Every strange sound made him fear bandits. Every dark cloud made him fear storms. Every difficult passage made him fear avalanches. Finally, they arrived at the monastery. It was a simple place, perched on a cliff with prayer flags snapping in the wind. Dorje requested an audience with the teacher, a woman named Ani Zangmo, who was said to have achieved profound realization. He was led to her small room where she sat on a cushion, smiling warmly. Dorje prostrated and then poured out his troubles. "Teacher, I am consumed by worry. Every day brings new fears. I cannot sleep. I cannot enjoy my success. My mind is never at peace. Please teach me how to stop worrying." Annie Zangmo listened with compassionate attention. When Dorje finished, she said, "I will teach you. But first, you must do something for me. Go outside and find the largest boulder you can carry. Bring it here." Dorje was confused, but he obeyed. He went outside and found a heavy stone, as big as he could lift. Struggling under its weight, he carried it back to Ani Zangmo's room and set it down with relief, panting from the effort. "Good," said the teacher. "Now, I want you to worry about this stone." Dorje stared at her. "Worry about the stone, teacher? I don't understand. What should I worry about?" "Anything," Ani Zangmo said. "Worry that it might roll away. Worry that it might crack. Worry that someone might steal it. Just worry about it the way you worry about other things." Dorje tried. He looked at the stone and attempted to generate worry about it. But he felt nothing. It was just a stone. It sat there, solid and unchanging. There was nothing to worry about. He told the teacher this. "Exactly," Ani Zangmo said. "You cannot worry about the stone because it is completely in the present moment. It is just what it is. It's not going anywhere. It's not becoming something else. It simply is. Your mind has nothing to grasp onto, nothing to project into the future or drag from the past. The stone exists only now, and now, and now. So you cannot worry about it." Dorje began to understand. The teacher continued. "Now think about your tea business. Is the tea here right now?" "No," Dorje admitted. "Some is in storage. Some hasn't been harvested yet. Some is traveling with my caravans. So you worry about tea that is not here," Ani Zangmo said. "You worry about future tea, past tea, tea in other places. You worry about tea that exists only in your imagination of time and space, not about tea that is actually present. The same is true of everything you worry about. You worry about your health in the future. You worry about what people thought of you in the past. You worry about money you haven't lost. You worry about problems that haven't happened. You never worry about what is actually here, actually now. Because what is actually here, actually now, is like this stone. It simply is. It requires no worry." Dorje felt something shift. "But teacher," he said, "the future is uncertain. Things could go wrong. How can I not think about that?" "Thinking is not worrying," Ani Zangmo said gently. "You can think about the future skillfully. You can plan. You can prepare. You can take wise action. But worrying is different. Worrying is when you leave this moment and go into an imaginary future where you are helpless and everything goes wrong. Worrying is when you abandon the present moment, which is the only place where you have any power, and you torture yourself with fantasies of disaster in a time that doesn't exist yet." She picked up a small bell and rang it. The sound filled the room, clear and beautiful. "When the sound was happening, did you worry?" she asked. "No," said Dorje. "I was just listening." "Exactly," the teacher said. "When you are fully present, worry cannot exist. Worry requires you to be partly elsewhere, in the past or future. Come fully into now, and worry disappears like mist in sunlight." Dorje spent several weeks with Ani Zangmo, learning to return his attention to the present moment. When worry arose, he would ask himself, "Is this happening right now?" Usually the answer was no. The worry was about something that might happen, or had happened, or could happen, not about what was actually occurring. And when he came back to what was actually occurring, the present moment, he found it was like the stone. It simply was. And it required no worry. Years later, Dorje's business continued to face ups and downs, challenges and uncertainties, but he faced them differently. When worry arose, he would remember the stone. He would come back to now. What is actually happening in this moment? What is actually required of me right now? Not in some imagined future, but now. And he would find that the present moment was always manageable. The future remained uncertain, but the present was always just what it was. Simple, clear, like a stone. This teaching cuts to the heart of worry's nature. Worry exists only when we leave the present moment. It cannot survive in the now. Think about it. Can you actually worry about what is happening right this second? Not what it means for the future. Not what it reminds you of from the past. But just what is actually occurring in this exact moment. You'll find it's nearly impossible. Right now, are you in danger? Probably not. Right now, are you okay? Probably yes. Right now, is there something that needs to be done this instant? Probably not. You're lying down, breathing, listening. That's what's actually happening now. Everything else is imagination. Your mind might be in tomorrow or last week or in some fantasy future. But your body, your actual life, is here, now. And now is okay. This doesn't mean we ignore the future entirely. We can plan intelligently. We can take wise action. We can prepare. But we can do all of that from the present moment, with presence and clarity. That's different from worry. Worry is imagination without power. Planning is presence with purpose. When you notice yourself worrying, ask Arnie Zangmo's question. Is this happening right now? If the answer is no, come back to now. Come back to the stone. Come back to what is actually present. Your breath, your body, the room around you. The simple truth that in this moment, you are here, you are breathing, you are alive, and this moment is manageable. This moment is always manageable. The future will become the present moment when it arrives. And when it does, you'll meet it. You'll respond. You'll take the next step. You've always done this. Every challenging thing you faced in your life, you faced it when it became present. You didn't solve it from your worried imaginings beforehand. You solved it when it arrived. And you will do the same with future challenges. They will become present, and you will meet them. But right now, they are not present. They are imagination. So you can release them. Come back to the stone. Come back to now. Feel how the present moment requires no worry. It simply is. Your mind can rest here. Your body can rest here. There's nothing to solve right now. Nothing to fix right now. Just breathing. Just being. Just this moment, which is enough. Let worry fade like clouds dispersing. It has no substance. It's made of imagination and projection. But this breath is real. This moment is real. The feeling of your body resting is real. Stay with what's real. Like the stone, solid and present, simply existing in this moment. No past. No future. Just this. just now, and now, and now. Rest in this truth. The present moment needs no worry. It only needs your presence. Be here. Be still. Be at peace. The stone sits quietly. The moment unfolds. You breathe. This is enough. This has always been enough. In a monastery in the mountains of Japan, there lived two monks who had been friends since childhood. Their names were Masao and Kenji. They had studied together, practiced together, and grown old together in the monastery. But in their later years, they developed very different approaches to life. Masao had become consumed with preparations for death. He spent his days reviewing his life, trying to perfect his practice, worrying whether he had accumulated enough merit, whether he understood the teachings deeply enough, whether his meditation was correct. He would say to Kenji, "We are old now. We must be certain we are ready for death. Are you not concerned about this?" Kenji would smile and say, "I am too busy living to worry much about dying." Then he would return to whatever simple task was at hand, sweeping the path, tending the garden, preparing rice. One autumn day, both monks were working in the monastery garden. Masao was raking leaves, but his mind was far away, worrying about the state of his consciousness, whether he would have a good rebirth, whether he should be doing more intensive practice. He raked without attention, missing piles of leaves, going over the same ground twice, creating more disorder than order. Kenji was planting bulbs for spring flowers. He worked slowly, pressing each bulb gently into the earth, covering it with care, patting the soil with his weathered hands. His full attention was on the work. When Masao looked over and saw what Kenji was doing, he laughed, a bitter sound. "Why are you planting flowers?" Masao said. "We may not live to see spring. We are old men. You are wasting time that should be spent on practice, preparing for death." Kenji sat back on his heels and looked at his friend with gentle eyes. "These bulbs will bloom whether I am here to see them or not," he said. "If I am alive in spring, I will enjoy the flowers. If I am dead, someone else will enjoy them. Either way, the flowers will bloom. And right now, in this moment, I enjoy planting them. My practice is not separate from planting bulbs. This is my meditation. This is my preparation for death. Learning to be fully present for each simple task. Learning to do what is here to be done without being haunted by what might be." Masao shook his head. "You are not worried enough," he said. "Death could come at any time. We should spend every moment in formal practice, in meditation, in study." "I will die the same way I have lived," Kenji said. "If I spend my life worrying about death, I will die worried. If I spend my life present for each moment, I will die present. I would rather meet death while planting a bulb with my full attention than meet it while sitting in meditation, worrying whether my meditation is good enough." This conversation troubled Masao, but he could not change. His worry about death only increased. He slept poorly, plagued by anxious dreams. He ate little, his stomach always tight with concern. His health began to fail, not from illness, but from the constant stress of his worried mind. Kenji, meanwhile, continued his simple life. He rose each day and tended to whatever needed tending. He sat in meditation not to achieve anything but simply to sit. He swept the floors with the same attention he had given them for 50 years. He smiled at the young monks. He watched the seasons change. He planted bulbs in autumn and enjoyed flowers in spring. One winter night, Masao became very ill. His breathing grew labored and the monks gathered around his bed. He was dying, and he knew it. His face was tight with fear. "Is this right?" he asked, gasping. "Am I ready? Have I done enough? Did I practice correctly?" His final hours were tormented with these questions, his mind unable to rest even as his body failed. Kenji sat beside his old friend, holding his hand. "You are ready," he said gently. "You have always been ready. There is nothing you need to do differently. Just breathe. Just let go." But Masao could not hear him. He died as he had lived in his later years, worried and tense, still trying to get it right. Several years later, Kenji himself grew ill. The monks gathered around his bed in the same room where Masao had died. But the atmosphere was entirely different. Kenji lay peacefully, his breathing slow but calm. His face was relaxed. One of the young monks asked him, "Are you not afraid, teacher? Do you not worry about what comes next?" Kenji smiled. "I have been dying my whole life," he said. "Every breath is dying, and being born, and dying again. Every moment is letting go of the last moment. I have practiced this so long it has become natural. Death is just one more breath, one more letting go. I do it the same way I planted those bulbs. With attention, with acceptance, with presence. What is there to fear?" He paused, resting. Then he said, "Besides, I am too busy dying to worry about it." And he smiled again, his eyes bright with gentle humor. He took a few more breaths, each one slow and peaceful. Then he died, as simply as a leaf falling from a tree in autumn, as naturally as breath returning to air. The monks who witnessed both deaths learned a profound lesson. Masao had spent his final years trying to prepare for death through worry and effort. But worry had not prepared him. It had only made him miserable and afraid. Kenji had prepared for death by living fully, by being present for each moment, by practicing letting go in every small action. When death came, it was just one more moment to meet with presence. And he met it the same way he had met every other moment, with full attention and without resistance. This story teaches us that how we meet worry is practice for how we meet everything, including the biggest uncertainties of life. If we spend our lives worrying about whether we're doing it right, whether we're prepared enough, whether we're safe enough, then we practice worry. And worry is what we'll know how to do when challenges come. Our lives become small and fearful. But if we practice being present for each moment, accepting what is, doing what's at hand with full attention, then we practice peace. And peace is what we'll know how to access when challenges come. Our lives become spacious and easeful. You are practicing right now. Every moment is practice. When you lie here worrying about tomorrow, you practice worry. When you lie here being present with your breath, accepting this moment as it is, you practice peace. What do you want to be skilled at? What do you want to know how to do when life brings difficulties? The choice is yours, moment by moment. Kenji planted bulbs he might not see bloom. He did it anyway, fully? Can you meet this moment fully, even not knowing what tomorrow brings? Can you breathe this breath completely, even in uncertainty? Can you rest now, truly rest, without needing to know whether everything will be okay? The bulbs bloomed in spring. Some years Kenji saw them, some years he didn't. It didn't matter. What mattered was the planting. What mattered was the presence. What mattered was the full attention brought to each small act. That was the practice. That was the preparation. Not for some imagined perfect future, but for each moment as it comes. Let yourself be like Kenji. Plant the bulbs of this moment. Tend to this breath. Rest in this body. Let the future be uncertain. Let death come when it comes. Let tomorrow bring what it brings. Right now, you are alive. Right now, you can choose presence over worry. Right now, you can meet this moment fully. This breath. This one. Plant it with attention. Let it bloom in its own time. And trust that you are preparing yourself perfectly. Not through worry, but through presence. This is the practice. This moment. Just this. Again and again. Until the last moment comes and you meet it the same way. Present. Peaceful. Ready not because you figured it all out, but because you learned to be fully here. Just here. Just now. Breathing. Resting. Being. This is enough. This has always been enough. Close your eyes. Feel the breath. You are planting bulbs in the darkness. They will bloom in their own time. For now, just plant. Just breathe. Just rest. The flowers will take care of themselves. Your only job is to be here. Completely. Fully. Without worry. Just this moment. And this one. And this one. Each moment a seed. Each breath a flower blooming and fading. All of it perfect. All of it enough. In ancient China, there was a great monastery where hundreds of monks practiced meditation. At the heart of the monastery was a massive bronze bell, taller than 3 men, which was rung each morning and evening to call the monks to practice. The bell's sound was famous throughout the region for its pure, resonant tone that seemed to contain all the peace of the mountains. One day, a young monk named Bo arrived at the monastery. He was brilliant and dedicated, but he carried a heavy burden of worry. He worried about whether he was practicing correctly. He worried about whether he would achieve enlightenment. He worried about world suffering and how to help. His mind was never still, always churning with anxious thoughts. The abbot assigned Bo to the job of caring for the great bell. Each morning and evening, Bo would strike it with the massive wooden beam that hung beside it. Then he would clean the bell, polishing its bronze surface until it gleamed, clearing away the bird droppings and dust that accumulated on it. At first, Bo worried about this job too. What if I strike it wrong? What if I damage it? What if the timing isn't perfect? He would lie awake at night thinking about the bell, rehearsing in his mind how he would strike it, worrying about all the things that could go wrong. One morning, the abbot came to watch Bo ring the bell for morning practice. Bo was so anxious that his hands shook as he pulled the beam back. He struck the bell, and the sound was off, weak and wavering, not the pure tone it should have produced. Bo's face flushed with shame. "I'm sorry, Master," he said. "I was nervous. Let me try again." "Wait," said the abbot. Why was the sound not true? Bo thought for a moment. "I think I was holding my breath. I was tense. I was trying too hard to get it right." "Exactly," said the abbot. "Now watch me." The old master took hold of the beam. He breathed quietly for a moment, his body completely relaxed, his face peaceful. Then, with natural ease, he pulled the beam back and released it. The beam swung forward and struck the bell with perfect force. The sound that emerged was extraordinary, a deep, pure tone that seemed to fill the entire valley, rolling out in waves that lasted almost a full minute. The resonance was so complete, so perfect, that Bo felt it in his chest, in his bones. When the sound finally faded, the abbot turned to Bo. "The bell knows how to sound," he said. "The bell is perfect. Your job is not to make it ring correctly. Your job is to not interfere with its nature. When you are tight with worry, when you are holding your breath, when you are trying to control the outcome, you block the bell from doing what it naturally does. You create tension that dampens the sound. But when you are relaxed, when you are present, when you simply do what needs to be done without grasping for a result, the bell rings true. You don't make it ring true. You allow it to ring true by getting your worry out of the way." Bo practiced this teaching every morning and evening. Before striking the bell, he would take a breath and relax his body. He would let go of his worry about whether he would do it right. He would simply be present with the action. Pull the beam back. Release it. Let the bell do what bells do. Gradually, he learned to strike it perfectly each time, not through anxious effort, but through relaxed presence. One day, Bo realized that this lesson applied to everything in his life. When he meditated with worry about whether he was doing it correctly, his meditation was tight and fruitless. When he sat with relaxed presence, simply sitting without grasping for enlightenment, his meditation deepened naturally. When he served food to other monks while worrying about doing it perfectly, he spilled and fumbled. When he served with simple attention, his hands were steady and sure. The worry, he saw, was like his tense body blocking the bell's true sound. It didn't help. It didn't make things better. It only interfered with the natural unfolding of each action, each moment. Life knew how to happen, just as the bell knew how to sound. His job wasn't to make it happen right through worried effort. His job was to get his worry out of the way and let life flow naturally through him. Years later, Bo became a teacher himself. When students came to him anxious and worried about their practice, he would take them to the bell. He would have them strike it while worried and tense. They would hear the dampened, weak sound. Then he would teach them to breathe, to relax, to let go of the grasping for results. They would strike it again and hear the pure, perfect tone emerge. "The bell hasn't changed," he would tell them. "Only your relationship to it has changed. The same is true of your life. The same is true of this moment. You don't need to force it to be right through worry. You only need to get your worry out of the way and let the moment be what it naturally is." This teaching speaks to how worry interferes with the natural flow of our lives. We think worry helps us, that it makes us more careful, more prepared, better equipped. But actually, worry is like tension blocking the bell's true sound. It dampens everything. It makes us awkward where we could be graceful. It makes us hesitant where we could be confident. It makes us tight where we could be easeful. Think about something you do well, something you're skilled at. Maybe it's cooking or playing an instrument or talking to a close friend or working with your hands. Notice that when you do it well, you're not worried. You're present. You're relaxed into the action. You let it flow through you. The meal cooks itself through your hands. The music plays itself through your instrument. The conversation flows naturally. You're not trying to force it or control every detail. You're simply there, present, allowing your skill and the moment to meet naturally. Now think about when you try to do that same thing while worried. When you cook while anxious, it will turn out badly. You burn things and forget ingredients. When you play music while worried about mistakes, your fingers stumble. When you talk to someone while worried what they think, the words come out wrong. The worry blocks the natural flow. It creates tension. It interferes. Life is like this. Each moment wants to unfold naturally. Each action wants to complete itself simply. But we tighten up with worry. We grasp at controlling the outcome. We hold our breath and tense our bodies and try to force everything to go right. And in doing so, we block the natural ease. We dampen the sound. We make everything harder than it needs to be. What if you could approach your life the way the abbot approached the bell? Relaxed, present, simply doing what needs to be done without grasping for a particular result. Trusting that the moment knows how to unfold, that life knows how to happen. Your job is not to force it through worried effort. Your job is to get your worry out of the way and let it flow. Right now, you can practice this. Notice if you're holding tension anywhere in your body. Notice if you're worrying about whether you'll sleep well, whether you're relaxing correctly, whether tomorrow will be okay. That worry is blocking your natural ability to rest. It's dampening the pure tone of this moment. It's creating tension where there could be ease. Take a breath. Let it out slowly. Let your body soften. Let your jaw unclench. Let your shoulders drop. Let your mind release its grip on worry. You don't have to make yourself relax through effort. You just have to stop interfering with your body's natural inclination toward rest. Stop blocking it with worry. Get out of the way. Let the bell ring true. The moment knows how to be peaceful. Your body knows how to rest. Sleep knows how to come. You don't have to force any of it through anxious effort. You just have to relax your grip. Soften your control. Let go of the worry. Allow what wants to happen naturally. The bell is perfect. This moment is perfect. You are perfect. The only thing blocking the pure tone is worry. And worry can be released. Right now, in this breath, let it go. Pull the beam back gently. Release it softly. Let the bell ring. Let this moment sound in all its fullness. Let your life unfold without the dampening weight of worry. Trust the bell. Trust the moment. Trust yourself. The sound is already perfect. You only need to stop interfering. Breathe. Release. Listen. The pure tone is here. It's always been here. Let yourself hear it now. Rest in the resonance. Let it fill you. Let it carry you towards sleep. The bell rings on even after the strike is over. The sound fades slowly into silence. Let yourself fade into rest the same way. Gently, naturally, without force. The bell knows. This moment knows. Your body knows. Let it all happen. Let the worry go. Let the pure sound remain. Just this. Just breath. Just peace. The bell rings true. And so do you. As the night deepens, let yourself settle even more completely. You've heard stories tonight of farmers and monks, of teachers and students, of bells and stones and mountains. Each story has been a gift, a gentle reminder that worry is not necessary, that uncertainty can be met with peace, that you are more capable than your anxious thoughts suggest. The farmer said maybe so, maybe not, and found freedom in not knowing. Tanzan carried the woman across the river and set her down, teaching us to release what's already past. Teen learned to stop filling the cracked pot, to stop working so hard at worry. Kisa Gautami walked through the village and discovered her suffering was shared, not unique. Wei stopped pushing the millstone of his thoughts. Rikyu made perfect tea even knowing death was coming. Drugpa Kunli laughed at clouds that don't fall and worries that never arrive. Zhang cut trees with full presence instead of anxious effort. Dorje returned to the stone, to the present moment where worry cannot exist. Kenji planted bulbs he might never see bloom, and Bo learned to let the bell ring true. Each story pointing to the same truth: worry changes nothing except your peace. Uncertainty is the nature of life, and it can be met with presence instead of anxiety. You don't need to know the future to be okay right now. You don't need everything figured out to rest deeply tonight. Let these teachings settle into your heart like seeds planted in good soil. They'll grow in their own time, blooming when you need them. For now, let them simply rest there. You've listened well. You've received the wisdom. Now let it work in you while you sleep. Your breath continues without effort. Your heart beats without your instruction. The night holds you safely. Tomorrow will come and you will meet it, just as you've met every other day. Not through worried preparation, but through simple presence. Through taking the next step. Through doing what's in front of you. For tonight, though tomorrow doesn't exist, there is only this breath, this moment, this simple peace of lying down in darkness, held by the earth, surrounded by silence. Nothing to solve, nothing to fix, nothing to prepare for or protect against. Just this rest, this letting go, this trust in the process of your life. Feel how your body knows how to release into sleep. Feel how your mind can finally quiet when you stop asking it to solve the unsolvable. Feel how peace is always here, waiting beneath the worry, like still water under wind-tossed waves. The wind of worry dies down. The water returns to stillness. You return to your true nature, which has never been worried, never been anxious, never been anything but this simple presence. Let yourself drift now. The stories have done their work. The wisdom has been planted. The teaching is complete. What remains is simply rest. Simply sleep. Simply the gentle dissolution of the day into darkness, of consciousness into dreams, of effort into ease. Maybe so, maybe not. The farmer smiles. Just this, the present moment whispers. Let go. Tanzan reminds you. Stop pushing, says the millstone. You're handling it, Drugpa Kunli assures. The bell rings true without worry. The bulbs will bloom in their own time. Trust the process. Trust yourself. Trust this moment. Before you slip into sleep, take a moment to appreciate what you've done tonight. You've chosen peace over worry, presence over anxiety. You've listened to ancient wisdom and let it touch something deep inside you. You've practiced letting go. This matters. This is real spiritual work. Not dramatic, but profound. Not loud, but transformative. Thank you for spending this time in the company of these old stories and timeless truths. Thank you for choosing rest over restlessness tonight. Thank you for being willing to release your worries, even if just for these hours of darkness. You deserve this peace. You've always deserved it. If you found comfort in these stories, if this helped you release even a little bit of the worry you've been carrying, consider subscribing to this channel. Let this be a place you can return to whenever the weight of uncertainty feels too heavy. New stories are always coming, new wisdom to support your journey toward peace. And if you'd like, leave a comment sharing what time it is where you are, where in the world you're listening from. It's comforting to know we're all here together, all over the world, all learning to live with uncertainty, all finding our way toward peace. Now, let go completely. Let the stories fade. Let the words dissolve. Let there be only breath and darkness and the sweet descent into sleep. The night watches over you. The ancient wisdom surrounds you. You are held in something larger than worry, deeper than anxiety, more true than fear. Rest well. Sleep deeply. Let the worried mind finally be still. Tomorrow will take care of itself. Tonight is for peace. Tonight is for dreams. Tonight is for letting every burden go and floating free in the darkness like a leaf on a gentle stream, going where the water takes it, trusting the current, releasing control, simply flowing, simply being, simply resting in what is. Maybe so, maybe not. Just this breath. Let go. You're okay. The bell rings. The bulbs are planted. The pot is cracked, and that's okay. The clouds stay in the sky. The stone sits peaceful in the present moment. The monastery burned and life continued. Everything changes, and somehow you're still here. Still breathing. Still held. Sleep now. Let it all go. Peace is here. Peace has always been here. You're finally still enough to feel it. Rest in it. Dissolve into it. Let it carry you through the night into morning light, refreshed and renewed. The worry washed away like footprints in sand at high tide. Sleep well. Be at peace. The stories will wait for you if you need them again. For now, there's only this: breath, darkness, rest, peace, sleep. Let yourself go. You are safe. You are held. You are home. Sleep. In the hills of Vietnam, there lived a farmer named Tran, who grew rice in terraced fields that climbed the mountainside like steps to heaven. Tran was a good farmer, skilled and hard-working, but he had developed a peculiar habit that troubled him deeply. Every night before sleep, he would lie awake listing all his worries, counting them like a merchant counts coins. He would worry, did I plant enough rice for the year? Will the rains come on time? Is my son studying hard enough at school? Did I offend my neighbor with my words today? Will my wife's cough turn into something serious? Is the roof strong enough for the coming storms? Will I have enough money to fix it if it isn't? On and on. The list would grow. Sometimes 20 worries, sometimes 30, each one examined and re-examined until exhaustion finally pulled him under into fitful sleep. One day, an old wandering monk came through the village. Tran, desperate for relief from his nightly torment, invited the monk to share his evening meal. After they had eaten, Tran confessed his problem. "Every night, I count my worries," he said. "Sometimes the same worries return night after night. I know it's foolish, but I cannot stop. My mind insists on reviewing everything that could go wrong. How can I find peace?" The monk listened with gentle attention. Then he said, "I understand your difficulty. This is a common affliction, but I have a practice that might help you. Tonight, I want you to count your worries as you always do. But this time, I want you to write each one down on a piece of paper. Then fold the papers and put them in a box. Do this, and I will return tomorrow night." Tran agreed, though he was puzzled. That night he lay in bed and began his usual ritual. But this time, he had paper and brush beside him. Each worry that arose, he wrote down carefully by lamplight. My son's education, the roof, my wife's health, the price of rice, my neighbor's opinion, the weather, on and on. He filled 23 pieces of paper with his worries, folded each one, and placed them all in a wooden box. Then, surprisingly, he fell asleep quickly. His mind felt strangely lighter, as if the act of putting the worries in the box had taken them out of his head. The next evening, the monk returned. He asked to see the box. Tran brought it to him, this container now holding 23 folded papers. The monk smiled. "Now," he said, "I want you to open each paper, read the worry, and tell me, did this thing you worried about happen today?" Tran opened the first paper. It said, "My son may not study hard enough." He thought about his day. His son had come home from school with good marks in mathematics. "No," Tran said, "this didn't happen. In fact, the opposite happened. My son did well." "Open another," said the monk. Tran unfolded the next paper. "My wife's cough may become serious." But today his wife had felt better, the cough less frequent. "No," Tran admitted, "this didn't happen either." They went through all 23 papers. Some worries were about things that simply didn't occur. Some were about things that had resolved themselves without Tran doing anything. A few were about situations that had indeed required attention, and Tran had handled them when they arose, finding them less difficult than he'd imagined. Not a single worry on any paper had come true in the catastrophic way Tran had imagined it. The monk held up the box. "This box contains 23 worries from last night," he said. 23 futures you imagined, 23 disasters you prepared for in your mind. And how many of them happened? None. Not one. Now imagine this. Every night for the past year, you have filled a box like this with worries. That would be more than 8,000 worries. How many of those 8,000 imagined disasters actually occurred? Tran sat in stunned silence, understanding beginning to dawn. "Very few," he whispered. "Almost none." I've been carrying 8,000 problems that don't exist. The monk nodded. And this is not unique to you. This is what the worried mind does. It creates problems that have not happened, may never happen, and even if they do happen, they rarely happen in the way we imagined. The worried mind is like a storyteller who only tells horror stories. But they are just stories. They are not real. But Master, Tran asked, some problems do happen. Some worries do come true. Shouldn't I prepare for them? When a real problem arises, the monk said, you handle it. I saw this in your papers. The few situations that actually required attention, you dealt with them. You didn't need to rehearse them 23 nights in advance. You didn't need to imagine them in elaborate detail. When they came, you simply responded. This is what humans do. We are more capable than our worries suggest. He handed the box back to Tran. Keep this box, he said. Every night for the next month, write your worries and put them in here. Then, every morning, open yesterday's worries and see how many came true. You will train your mind to see the truth, that worry is imagination, not prediction. It is fantasy, not preparation. And slowly, your mind will lose interest in creating these stories, because you will see clearly that they serve no purpose. Tran followed the monk's instruction. Each night he wrote his worries. Each morning he opened the previous night's papers. Day after day, week after week, the pattern became undeniable. The vast majority of his worries never materialized. Those that did require attention were handled easily when they arose. His mind began to understand, at a deep level, that worry was useless. After a month, something shifted. When a worried thought would arise at night, Tran's mind would remember the box full of unfulfilled worries. It would remember the 8,000 imagined problems that never happened, and the worried thought would lose its power. Why write this down? His mind would think, when tomorrow morning I'll see it was nothing, just another story, another horror tale that the mind invented. Gradually, Tran's nighttime ritual of counting worries faded away. Sometimes, worries would still arise, but they would pass like clouds, no longer demanding to be examined and re-examined. Tran would notice a worried thought, recognize it as the mind's habit of storytelling, and let it go. His sleep became deep and peaceful. His days became lighter. The energy he had spent on 8,000 imagined problems became available for actual living, for enjoying his family, for appreciating the beauty of his terraced rice fields climbing toward the sky. This story illuminates something profound about the nature of worry. When we examine our worries closely, when we track them and see what actually happens, we discover a startling truth. The vast majority of what we worry about never occurs. Our minds are creating problems, spinning disaster scenarios, imagining catastrophes that exist nowhere except in our thoughts. Think honestly about your own experience with this. How many things have you worried about this year that never happened? That friend you were sure was angry at you but wasn't. That mistake at work you thought would ruin your career but was barely noticed. That health symptom you were certain was serious but turned out to be nothing. That financial crisis you saw coming but never arrived. How much energy have you spent on worries that dissolved like morning mist the moment you finally faced them, or they simply never materialized at all? If you kept a box like Tran's box, filling it with your worries each night and checking them each morning, what would you discover? You would see, clearly and undeniably, that your worried mind is not a reliable prophet. It's a storyteller with a dark imagination. It doesn't predict the future. It invents frightening futures that rarely come to pass. And on those occasions when something you worried about does happen, you discover something else equally important. You handle it. You respond. You cope. You find resources you didn't know you had. The actual event, even when difficult, is manageable in a way that the worry about it never was. The worry was endless and exhausting. The actual problem had a beginning, middle, and end. You moved through it. This is what the monk was teaching Tran. You don't need to rehearse problems in advance. You don't need to imagine disasters and prepare emotional responses to things that haven't happened. When something actually requires your attention, you'll give it your attention. You've been doing this your whole life. Every real challenge you faced it when it became real. Not from your worried preparation, but from your natural human capacity to respond to what's actually in front of you. The box of worries becomes a mirror showing you the truth. Most of what you worry about is fiction. Your mind is writing stories, scary stories, but they're not predictions. They're not preparing you for anything. They're just exhausting you, stealing your peace, making you carry the weight of 8,000 problems that don't exist. What if you could see your worries the way Tran learned to see his? As stories. As the mind's habit. As imagination, not reality. Not as truths you must attend to, but as thoughts you can let pass. The mind will still create worried thoughts, just as it creates all kinds of thoughts. But you don't have to believe them. You don't have to open each one and examine it. You don't have to prepare for disasters that exist only in imagination. Right now, if you brought to mind the things you're worried about, how many of them are about things that haven't happened yet? How many are about problems that may never occur? How many are stories your mind is telling about possible futures? Almost all of them, probably. You're filling the box with imagined problems, carrying the weight of scenarios that exist nowhere except in your thoughts. You can set the box down. You can stop writing the worries on paper and carrying them around. You can let the worried thoughts arise and pass without believing them, without elaborating on them, without treating them as truths that must be solved. They're just thoughts, just stories, just the mind's old habit of creating problems. When something real happens, something that actually requires your attention, you'll know. It won't be a vague anxiety about the future. It will be a concrete situation in front of you, and you'll handle it, just as you've handled every other real situation in your life. You don't need to practice handling it in advance through worry. You just need to be present when it arrives. Tonight, imagine all your worries written on papers in a box. All those scenarios, those what-ifs, those imagined disasters. See them for what they are, stories, not realities. Fiction, not prediction. Then imagine setting the box aside. You don't need to carry it into sleep. You don't need to open each paper and examine it. You can just set it down and rest. Tomorrow morning, if you were to open tonight's worries, most of them will have proven themselves to be nothing. Imaginary problems that never arrived. Why give them your peace tonight? Why let them steal your rest? They're not real. They're not happening. They're just thoughts passing through, asking for attention they don't deserve. Let the box sit closed. Let the worries remain unexamined. Let your mind finally rest from its habit of creating problems. You have carried 8,000 worries, and 8,000 worries have proven to be unnecessary. This truth is enough. You can stop now. You can rest now. The box can remain closed. The worries can remain unwritten. Your mind can finally be still. Breathe deeply. Feel how light you become when you set down the box of imagined problems. Feel how much space opens up when you stop filling your mind with disaster stories. Feel how peaceful this moment is when you're not carrying the weight of 8,000 futures that will never arrive. Just this breath. Just this moment. No box to carry. No worries to count. No stories to believe. Just the simple peace of lying here, breathing, being, resting. The worried mind can finally quiet. The box can finally be empty. You can finally be free. In the mountains of Tibet, there was a monastery where young monks were trained in meditation and philosophy. Among them was a monk named Lobsang who was extraordinarily talented. He memorized texts quickly, understood complex teachings easily, and showed great promise in his practice. But Lobsang had a secret worry that consumed him. He was terrified of being ordinary. Every time he achieved something, he would immediately worry it wasn't enough. When he memorized a text, he would worry that other monks might memorize it faster. When he understood a teaching, he would worry his understanding wasn't as deep as it should be. When he meditated, he would worry he wasn't progressing quickly enough toward realization. His entire practice had become a race against an imaginary standard, a constant anxiety about whether he was special enough, accomplished enough, advanced enough. The head teacher, an old lama named Rinpoche Dorje, noticed Lobsang's agitation. One day he called the young monk to his room. "Lobsang," he said, "I have a special assignment for you. Tomorrow morning, you will go to the valley below the monastery. There you will find a stream. I want you to sit by that stream for the entire day and count how many water drops flow past you. Do not return until you have the exact number." Lobsang was bewildered. "Master," he said, "that's impossible. The water flows constantly. There must be millions of drops, maybe billions. How can I count them all?" "Nevertheless," said Rinpoche Dorje, "this is your practice for tomorrow. Go and count." The next morning, Lobsang walked down to the valley. He found the stream, a clear ribbon of water flowing over smooth stones, creating a gentle music as it moved. He sat down beside it and stared at the water, trying to figure out how to accomplish this impossible task. He attempted to focus on one section of the stream and count the drops passing through. 1, 2, 3, 4. But the water moved too fast, merged too continuously. He couldn't distinguish individual drops. They flowed together, inseparable. He tried different methods. He tried to count drops in 1 second and multiply. He tried to count drops in a small area. He tried to estimate volume and calculate. Nothing worked. The water simply flowed, continuous and uncountable, indifferent to his efforts to quantify it. Hours passed. The sun climbed high and began to descend. Lobsang grew frustrated, then exhausted, then finally surrendered. He couldn't count the drops. It was impossible. He had failed the assignment. He sat there in defeat, listening to the stream's constant song, watching the water flow past without any further attempt to count it. And in that moment of giving up, something shifted. For the first time in months, maybe years, Lobsang wasn't trying to achieve anything. He wasn't measuring his progress. He wasn't comparing himself to others. He wasn't worrying about whether he was special or ordinary. He was just sitting by a stream, listening to water flow, watching sunlight dance on its surface. The stream didn't care about his accomplishments or his failures. It just flowed, each drop merging with the next. No drop more important than any other. All of them together, creating this beautiful continuous movement. Lobsang sat there until evening, no longer trying to count, just being with the stream. Then he walked back up to the monastery. Rinpoche Dorje was waiting. "Well," the old Lama asked, "how many drops?" Lobsang bowed deeply. "Master, I could not count them. It's impossible. The drops are not separate things that can be counted. They flow together. Each one is part of the stream. Trying to count them misses the point. The beauty is in the flowing, not in the individual drops." Rinpoche Dorje smiled widely. "And this," he said, "is exactly the teaching you needed. You've been trying to count your own drops, to measure yourself, to determine if you are a special drop or an ordinary drop. But you are like the water in that stream. You are not separate. You are not a thing to be measured and compared. You are part of a great flowing. When you try to determine your worth, to prove you are special, to worry that you might be ordinary, you miss the point entirely. The beauty is in the flowing. The practice is in the being. You are exactly as you should be, neither special nor ordinary, just flowing with all of life." "But Master," Lobsang said, "should I not try to improve? Should I not work toward realization? Should I not strive to be a better monk?" "There is a difference," said Rinpoche Dorje, "between practice and worry, between effort and anxiety. You can practice wholeheartedly without worrying whether you are progressing fast enough. You can study without comparing yourself to others. You can meditate without measuring yourself against some imagined standard. The stream flows fully, completely, without asking whether it flows better than other streams. The drop of water doesn't worry whether it's an important drop. It just flows. This is what you must learn." Over the following months, Lobsang returned often to the stream. He would sit beside it when his old worries arose, when he found himself measuring his progress, comparing himself to other monks, anxious about whether he was good enough. The stream taught him again and again, just flow. Don't count. Don't measure. Don't compare. Just be fully what you are in this moment. Just practice completely without worrying about the outcome. Just live without constantly evaluating whether you're special or ordinary. Gradually, Lobsang's practice transformed. He still studied hard, still meditated deeply, still engaged fully with his training. But the anxious edge fell away. The constant self-measurement stopped. He was no longer trying to prove something or become something. He was just practicing, just being, just flowing like water in the stream. And paradoxically, as he stopped worrying about his progress, his practice deepened more than it ever had when he was anxiously striving. One day, years later, a young monk came to Lobsang with a familiar complaint. "I worry that I'm not progressing fast enough," the young monk said. "Other monks seem more advanced. I'm afraid I'm just ordinary, not special enough to achieve realization. Lobsang smiled, hearing his younger self in these words. Come with me, he said. He led the young monk down to the valley, to the stream. Sit here, Lobsang said, and count how many drops of water flow past today. Don't return until you have the exact number. The young monk stared at him in confusion, but Lobsang was already walking back up the mountain, trusting that the stream would teach what words could not. This story speaks to a particular kind of worry that many of us carry, the worry about whether we are enough accomplished, enough successful, enough smart, enough beautiful, enough interesting, enough special. We measure ourselves constantly, comparing ourselves to others, evaluating our worth, anxious about where we stand in some imagined hierarchy. This worry is exhausting and ultimately pointless, like trying to count drops in a flowing stream. You are not a separate thing to be measured and evaluated. You are part of the great flowing of life. You are connected to everything, inseparable from the whole. Asking whether you are special or ordinary is like asking whether one drop of water in the stream is more important than another. It misses the essential nature of what you are. Think about how much energy you spend on this kind of worry. When you accomplish something, do you get to enjoy it? Or do you immediately start worrying whether it was good enough, whether others have accomplished more, whether you're falling behind some imagined standard? When you're with other people, are you present with them? Or are you comparing yourself, measuring yourself, worrying about how you appear to them, whether they think you're impressive enough? This constant self-evaluation, this endless measuring and comparing, it steals your peace and it accomplishes nothing. You could spend your entire life trying to prove you're special, trying to achieve enough to finally feel secure in your worth, and you would never get there. Because the problem isn't that you haven't accomplished enough. The problem is the measuring itself. The problem is treating yourself like a drop to be counted instead of water flowing. What if you could let go of this whole endeavor? What if you could stop trying to determine your worth? Stop comparing yourself to others. Stop worrying about whether you're special or ordinary. What if you could just be, just flow, just live your life fully without this constant self-evaluation? You would discover something liberating. When you stop trying to prove you're special, you become free to actually engage with life. When you stop measuring your progress, you can actually practice wholeheartedly. When you stop comparing yourself to others, you can actually appreciate them and learn from them. When you stop worrying about your worth, you can actually contribute your gifts without the anxious edge of needing validation. The stream flows fully whether anyone is watching or not. The water doesn't ask if it's flowing beautifully enough. It just flows. This is the model. This is the teaching. Be like water. Flow fully. Live completely. Practice wholeheartedly. Not to become special. Not to prove anything. Not to measure up to some standard. Just because this is what you are. This is what this moment asks of you. This is the natural expression of being alive. Right now, you can practice this. Notice if there's a part of your mind that's evaluating your worth, measuring your accomplishments, comparing yourself to others, worrying whether you're enough. That's the mind trying to count drops. It's an impossible task, and it misses the point. Instead, just be here. Just breathe. Just rest. You don't need to be special. You don't need to be more than you are. You don't need to accomplish anything to deserve peace tonight. You are already part of the flowing stream of life. You are already enough, exactly as you are. Not because you've proven it or achieved it, but because you are. Let go of the counting. Let go of the measuring. Let go of the worry about whether you're special or ordinary. These categories don't apply to you. You are water flowing. You are life unfolding. You are exactly what you're supposed to be in this moment. No more. No less. Perfect in your imperfection. Complete in your incompleteness. Enough, simply because you exist. The stream doesn't worry. The water doesn't compare itself. Each drop flows into the next, all of them together, creating something beautiful, something whole. You are part of that wholeness. You have always been part of that wholeness. You can rest in that truth. You can stop trying to prove something and just be. Breathe like water flowing. Easy. Natural. Unforced. Let your breath flow without measuring whether you're breathing well enough. Let your mind flow without evaluating whether your thoughts are good enough. Let yourself flow into sleep without worrying whether you're resting correctly. Just flow. Just be. Just this moment, flowing into the next. All of it one continuous stream. All of it perfect exactly as it is. You are enough. You have always been enough. You will always be enough. Not because of what you achieve or accomplish, but because you are part of this great flowing, this beautiful stream of existence. And in this stream, there are no ordinary drops and no special drops. There is only water, flowing, being, living. You are that. Let yourself rest in that truth. Let the worry about worth finally dissolve. Let yourself flow freely. The stream sings. The water flows. You breathe. All of it one continuous movement. All of it enough. All of it perfect. Just this. Just flowing. Just being. Just rest. In ancient Korea, there was a master potter named Min who created ceramics of extraordinary beauty. His bowls and vases were prized throughout the land, not for their perfection, but for their character. Each piece bore the marks of its making, the fingerprints where Min had shaped the clay, the slight variations in glaze where the fire had touched differently. People said his work had a soul that factory-perfect pieces lacked. One day, a young apprentice named Ji Woo came to study with Master Min. Ji Woo was talented and eager, but he was plagued by worry every time he sat at the potter's wheel. He would start a bowl, and as the clay rose under his hands, his mind would fill with anxious thoughts. Is the wall too thick? Is it symmetrical? What if it collapses? What if the glaze doesn't turn out right? What if Master Min thinks it's poor work? His hands would tense with worry, and invariably, the bowl would wobble and collapse, or crack in the kiln, or emerge flawed in ways that disappointed him. After weeks of watching Ji Woo struggle, Master Min sat down beside him one morning. "Show me how you make a bowl," he said. Ji Woo centered his clay on the wheel and began to pull up the walls. Within moments, his face was tight with concentration and worry. His shoulders hunched. His breathing grew shallow. The bowl began to wobble. Before it could collapse entirely, Master Min reached out and stopped the wheel. "Do you feel that?" Min asked, pointing to Ji Woo's shoulders. "You are holding all your worry right here. Your body is fighting itself. Part of you is trying to make the bowl, and part of you is terrified of making a mistake. These two parts are at war, and the clay feels this war. Clay is honest. It shows you the truth of your state of mind. You cannot make something beautiful while you are at war with yourself. But Master, Jiwoo said, how can I not worry? What if I make a mistake? What if I waste your clay and your time? What if I never get good at this? Master Min smiled gently. Come with me. He led Jiwoo to a shelf at the back of the workshop. On it sat dozens of broken pots, cracked bowls, collapsed vessels. These are all mine, Min said. From when I was learning and from now, still. After 50 years of pottery, I still make pieces that crack, that warp, that don't turn out as I imagined. This is not failure. This is the process. This is how clay teaches. He picked up a cracked bowl, ran his fingers along the break. This bowl, he said, taught me that the temperature in my kiln was uneven. I adjusted the fire, and the next batch came out better. This collapsed vase taught me I was pulling the walls too thin too quickly. I learned patience. Every broken piece has been a teacher. If I had been afraid to make mistakes, I would never have made these mistakes. And if I had never made these mistakes, I would never have learned what they taught me. I would still be making the same clumsy pots I made as a young man. Jiwoo looked at the shelf of broken pottery with new eyes. But Master, he said, when you sit at the wheel now, do you still worry? Do you still fear making mistakes? Master Min laughed warmly. When I sit at the wheel now, I am not thinking about mistakes or success. I am thinking about the clay. I am feeling its wetness, its texture, its responsiveness. I am listening to the wheels hum. I am breathing with the making. The bowl will be what it will be. Some will be beautiful. Some will crack. Some will surprise me. Some will disappoint me. But I am not worried about which it will be, because I am too busy being present with the actual making. Worry lives in the future, in what might happen. Making lives in the present, in what is happening right now. He took Jiwoo back to the wheel and placed a fresh lump of clay on it. Now, he said, I want you to make a bowl with only one intention: to feel the clay. Not to make a perfect bowl, not to avoid mistakes, not to impress me or prove yourself, just to feel the clay and respond to what it wants to do. If it collapses, fine. You will have felt clay collapsing. If it cracks in the kiln, fine. You will have learned something about how this particular clay responds to heat. The bowl is not the point. The presence is the point. Be with the clay. Let the results be what they are. Jiwoo centered the clay and began again. But this time, he tried to follow Master Min's instruction. Feel the clay. Just feel it. When worry arose about whether the wall was even, he brought his attention back to the sensation of the wet clay under his fingers. When fear came about the bowl collapsing, he returned to the feeling of the wheel spinning. When anxiety about Master Min's judgment appeared, he came back to his breath and the simple act of shaping. The bowl that emerged was not perfect. It was slightly lopsided, the walls uneven, but it held together. And Jiwoo felt something he hadn't felt in weeks, a moment of peace while working. A moment of being present with the process rather than worried about the outcome. Master Min examined the bowl, running his fingers along its imperfect rim. "This bowl has life," he said. "I can see you were present when you made it. It has character. It has honesty. A perfect bowl made with worry and tension is dead. It might look correct, but it has no soul. This imperfect bowl made with presence is alive." This is the difference. Over months of practice, Jiwoo learned to work more and more from presence and less from worry. Some of his pieces still failed. Some cracked. Some warped in unexpected ways. But he learned to see each piece, successful or failed, as part of the teaching. He stopped being at war with himself, stopped fighting between the part that wanted to create and the part that feared imperfection. He learned to just be with the clay, to respond to each moment, to let the results be what they were. Years later, when Jiwoo had become a skilled potter in his own right, a new apprentice came to him with familiar complaints. "I'm so worried about making mistakes," the young person said. "Every time I sit at the wheel, I'm terrified I'll fail." Jiwoo smiled, remembering his younger self. He led the apprentice to his own shelf of broken pots. "These are my teachers," he said. "Everyone." And then he said the words that had freed him. "The bowl is not the point. The presence is the point. Be with the clay. Let the results be what they are." This story teaches us something essential about the relationship between worry and the work of our lives. When we approach any task with worry about the outcome, with fear of failure, with anxiety about judgment, we split ourselves. Part of us is trying to do the work. Part of us is terrified of doing it wrong. These parts fight each other, and the work suffers. More than that, we suffer. We cannot be present for what we're actually doing because we're too busy being anxious about how it will turn out. Think about something you need to do, something you've been worried about. Maybe it's a conversation you need to have, or a project at work, or a decision you need to make. Notice how the worry affects your relationship with the task. You're probably not thinking about the actual doing of it. You're thinking about all the ways it could go wrong. You're imagining failure. You're rehearsing worst-case scenarios. You're at war with yourself, part of you wanting to do it, and part of you afraid to try. This worry doesn't help you do the thing better. It just makes the doing more miserable and usually less effective. When you're worried, you're not fully present. You're not responsive to what's actually happening. You're not listening to the clay. To use Master Min's metaphor, you're too busy being afraid. What if you could approach your work, your tasks, your challenges, the way Master Min taught Jiwoo to approach the potter's wheel? Not focused on avoiding mistakes or guaranteeing success, but focused on being present with the actual doing. Feel the clay. Be here. Respond to this moment. Let the results be what they are. This doesn't mean you don't care about outcomes. It means you understand that the best way to influence outcomes is to be fully present for the process. When you're worried, you're not present. When you're present, you're actually more skilled, more responsive, more effective. The worry doesn't make you better. It makes you worse. Presence makes you better. And when mistakes happen, when things don't turn out as you hoped, you can see them the way Master Min saw his shelf of broken pots. As teachers, as part of the process, not as evidence of your failure or inadequacy, but as information, as opportunities to learn and adjust. Every broken bowl taught something. Every crack revealed something. Without the willingness to make mistakes, there is no learning. Without the willingness to fail, there is no growth. Right now, you can practice this. Whatever you're worried about, whatever task or challenge or situation you're carrying anxiety about, try this different approach. Instead of focusing on all the ways it could go wrong, instead of rehearsing your fear of failure, simply ask yourself, when the moment comes to actually do this thing, can I be present for it? Can I feel the clay? Can I listen and respond to what's actually happening rather than what I fear might happen? The outcome will be what it will be. Some things will work. Some things won't. Some things will surprise you. Some will disappoint you. This is the nature of living. But if you can be present for the process, if you can engage fully with the actual doing, rather than being lost in worry about the result, you'll find that the doing itself becomes more easeful. And usually, the results are better too. Not because you worried about them, but because you were present enough to respond skillfully. Tonight, as you rest, you can release all the worry about how things will turn out. Tomorrow will bring what it brings. Some things will go well. Some things won't. You'll make mistakes. You'll learn from them. You'll have successes. You'll move on from them. All of it is the process. All of it is the teaching. The bowl is not the point. The presence is the point. Be present now with this simple act of resting. Not worried about whether you're resting correctly. Not anxious about whether you'll sleep well. Just feeling the body, the breath, the bed beneath you. Just being here, present with this moment of settling. The rest will take care of itself. The results will be what they are. Your only job is to be here. Fully. Completely. With all of yourself. Present. Feel the clay of this moment. The texture of the air on your skin. The weight of your body. The rhythm of your breath. Don't try to make it perfect. Don't worry about getting it right. Just feel it. Just be with it. Just respond to this moment as it is. This is enough. This is the practice. This is all that's ever asked of you. Be here. The bowl will be what it will be. The night will unfold as it unfolds. You just need to be present for it. Let your shoulders drop. Release the war inside yourself. The part that wants to rest and the part that's worried about resting can finally agree. Just rest. Just be. The clay is responding to your presence. Your body knows how to settle when you stop fighting it with worry. Your mind knows how to quiet when you stop demanding perfection from it. Just be here. Just feel this. Just let it be what it is. The wheel turns. The clay responds. The bowl takes shape. All of it happening in its own way, in its own time. You are the potter and the clay. The maker and the made. All of it, one process. All of it perfect in its imperfection. All of it teaching. All of it enough. Rest now in the making of this moment. Rest now in the presence that asks nothing but to be here. The broken pots on the shelf are teachers. The worries that didn't come true are teachers. This breath is a teacher. This moment of letting go is a teacher. Learn from it all. And rest. Just rest. The bowl of this night is forming perfectly under your hands. Let it be what it will be. You are present. That is enough. That has always been enough. As the night deepens even further, and these final stories settle into your heart, let yourself recognize what you've been given tonight. 21 complete journeys through ancient wisdom, each one pointing you toward the same truth. Worry is optional. Presence is powerful, and you are more capable than your anxious mind suggests. You've walked with farmers who said maybe so, maybe not, with monks who carried women across rivers and then set them down. You've met teachers who pointed to cracked pots and millstones, to streams and bells and stones. You've sat with masters who planted bulbs they might not see bloom, who made perfect tea knowing death was near, who learned to let the clay teach them instead of fighting it with worry. Each story has been a gift, a seed planted in the garden of your awareness. They'll grow in their own time, blooming when you need them most. For now, they rest in you, part of your inner landscape, available whenever worry comes knocking. The wisdom is simple, even if the practice takes time. Worry changes nothing except your peace. The present moment is always manageable. Uncertainty is life's nature, not its flaw. You are enough, exactly as you are. The future will take care of itself. Your job is just to be here, fully, breathing, living, responding to what's actually in front of you instead of what might be coming. Let your breath deepen now. Feel how your body has been settling throughout these stories, how the worried edges have softened, how the tight places have begun to release. This is what happens when we stop feeding the worry, when we stop pushing the millstone, when we set down the buckets and step away from the cracked pot. Your mind knows how to be peaceful. It's shown you this tonight, in the quiet spaces between stories, in the moments when you forgot to worry because you were listening. That peace is always available. It's not something you have to achieve or earn. It's what remains when you stop creating turbulence with worried thoughts. Tomorrow will come with its own moments, its own challenges, its own opportunities to practice these teachings. Maybe you'll catch yourself about to push the millstone and you'll choose not to. Maybe you'll notice you're carrying someone across a river long after you set them down, and you'll laugh and release it. Maybe you'll hear yourself filling the cracked pot with worry, and you'll remember it's futile and set the bucket down. Each time you do this, each time you choose presence over worry, you strengthen that capacity. Like Ji-woo learning to feel the clay instead of fearing the outcome, you're learning to feel your life instead of fearing it. This is the practice. This is the path. Not overnight transformation, but gentle, steady learning. The stream flowing, the bell ringing true, the bowl taking shape under present hands. For tonight, though, let all practice cease. Let all effort end. Let all the stories fade into the background. What remains is just this: you, breathing, resting, held by the darkness, safe in this moment. Nothing to prove, nothing to solve, nothing to prepare for. Just being, just breathing, just finally still. Thank you for spending these hours with ancient wisdom and gentle stories. Thank you for choosing peace tonight. Thank you for being willing to release the worry, even temporarily, even just for sleep. This matters more than you know. Each time you practice letting go, you make it easier the next time. Each night you rest in peace. You teach your nervous system that peace is possible, that worry isn't required, that you can be okay even in uncertainty. If these stories served you, If they helped you find even a moment of relief from worry, consider subscribing so you can return whenever the burden feels heavy. And if you'd like, share in the comments where you are in the world, what time it is where you're listening. We're all here together, all learning to live with uncertainty, all finding our way toward peace. Now let everything go. The stories have served their purpose. The teaching is complete. What remains is only rest, only sleep, only the gentle dissolution of this day into darkness, this consciousness into dreams, this effort into absolute ease. The farmer still smiles, saying maybe so, maybe not. Tanzan walks lightly, having set the woman down miles ago. The pot remains cracked, and that's perfectly fine. The millstone is still, no one pushing it. Kisa Gautami has walked through the village and knows she's not alone. Wei has stopped pushing thoughts. Rikyu made beautiful tea until his last breath. Drugpa Kunli laughs at worry about falling clouds. Zhang cuts trees with full presence. Dorje has returned to the stone, to now. Kenji plants bulbs with complete devotion. Bo lets the bell ring true. Tran's box of worries sits unopened because they never came true. Lobsang flows like water, uncountable, immeasurable, enough. And Jiwoo feels the clay, trusts the process, lets the results be what they are. All these teachers, all these teachings, all pointing you here, to this breath, this moment, this peace that was never actually missing, only obscured by clouds of worry that are now dispersing in the clear night air. Sleep now, deeply, completely, without reservation. The worried mind has finally exhausted itself. The stories have done their gentle work. Peace has been here all along, patient, waiting for you to finally be still enough to feel it. You are held. You are safe. You are exactly where you need to be. The night watches over you with infinite kindness. The ancient wisdom surrounds you like a warm blanket. You can finally rest. Let go of it all. Every last bit. The worries, the stories, the words, the teachings, even the effort to let go. Just sink into this darkness like a stone settling into deep water. Easy, natural, inevitable. Going down into the soft depths of sleep where nothing is required of you. Nothing needs solving. Nothing asks for your attention. Just sleep. Just peace. Just this long, slow exhale into the night. Everything is okay. Everything has always been okay. You're just finally still enough to know it. Rest well. Sleep deeply. Dream sweetly. Tomorrow will meet you with fresh grace. But tonight belongs to peace. Tonight belongs to rest. Tonight belongs to the deep, profound letting go that allows true restoration. The bell rings one last time, its tone pure and clear. Then silence. Then sleep. Then peace. Then nothing but the gentle rhythm of breath and the sweet surrender to rest. Be at peace. The journey is complete. The teaching is done. Sleep